and then I'll be back up when we do the ribbon cutting. Good morning, everybody. Come on, in the back. You know, I love how everybody's near the bar in the back. Come on, you can come up front a little bit. But it is truly an honor to be here with all of you and with my dear, dear friend, Jim Brahini. We are blessed in many ways, and we have a new blessing that started on July 1st. It is really an honor for me to be the first one to introduce him publicly. Our new president and CEO, Dr. Adam Falk. He clearly went to the same haberdasher as Jim. They look like twins over there, but I'm not going to comment. Maybe I already did. I have really the honor of introducing several dear friends of this organization, and Jim said it so well. It's a public-private partnership. We are on city land. This is a city building, but it's with the support of the private sector. And, you know, Jim glossed over 2009. That was a tough time for the city of New York. We were going through some challenging moments, and we had to make some tough decisions. So now, 16 years later, to be up here and reopening this building really shows that the city's coming back, the Bronx Zoo is coming back, and that we're all doing it together. So with that, I wanted to call up our first special guest. This is someone who's been a dear friend of this organization for many, many years. He's the chair of the Committee on Cultural Affairs, Tourism, Parks, and Recreation. He has one unfortunate blemish on his career. He did not go to Fordham University. He went to Manhattan College. My dear, dear friend, State Senator Jose Serrano.
Thank you so much, John. Whoops. It is such a treat and a privilege to be here with all of you, with the commissioner and with all of the folks here at WCS for this really momentous occasion. In the New York State Senate, this is my 21st year in the Senate, which is a long time. I was thinking about that this morning. And what makes it so great is that I get to be the chair of this committee on cultural affairs and parks. And I get to talk about why these places are so important to the fabric of our society. Sure, I can go on for days about the economic development and activity that an institution like this brings to New York City and to the Bronx. I could go on for days about the jobs and all of that and all the educational opportunities that are so important to all of us. But it really, on a deeply personal level, it's the memories that we build here. And as a parent, my wife and I raising two kids, 19 and 13, and I think about some of our most memorable times where we as a family enjoyed ourselves and really connected on something so meaningful. It's been in here. It's been in a place like this. And we want more and more families to have those wonderful opportunities, to be able to build memories and also become lifetime learners. When you're here at WCS and interacting with all the wonderful staff that I see out here, you truly are learning about things that make you ask further questions and learn more about the environment and all of these different things. So the world of darkness really is a misnomer because it really is shining a light on all of the great things in our society. So I want to just thank you all for all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. We do have two representatives here. I wanted to give them a shout out because as a former staffer, I know they do all the work and everybody else gets the glory. So I wanted to make sure that my dear friend, Tom Lucania, the Deputy Chief of Staff for the Borough President, Vanessa Gibson, is recognized. Assembly Member Alvarez and Council Member Feliz are not here, but we're going to keep the program going, and hopefully they'll be here for the ribbon cutting. And we saved the best for last. Is that the best way to put it? We are fortunate to have a leader at the city level who's our Commissioner of Cultural Affairs. She ran a institution, a cultural institution. She was a member of the City Council, helped to increase the number of cultural institutions. We're part of what's called the Cultural Institutions Group. We're now 34 strong throughout the city of New York. And more importantly, she's been our advocate. And this year, we had the largest increase in the history of New York City for culture. And it's because of people like her and her leadership. So it is a great honor for me to welcome and introduce our New York City Commissioner for Cultural Affairs, Lori Cumbo.
Good morning, Bronx. How y'all doing today? Wow. As I was coming through and I walked up in here and I saw all of you here, I couldn't imagine that so many people would be gathered here early this morning to be able to be here for this incredible ribbon cutting. I see all of the diversity of the Bronx and beyond, and it just shows how great culture and all of the gatherings that we're able to have in order to celebrate something that we have all done together. So I am so happy to be here and to be the Commissioner of the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs and to be here with each and every one of you. This is going to be a memory that we are all going to be able to share and have collectively and together. So thank you all so much for being here. We, as the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, we are representing our Mayor, Eric Adams, who has made a commitment to making sure that there are world-class cultural and educational spaces that are in every single borough in New York City. No more outer borough business, no more of that. We're making sure that there are prominent, world-class, state-of-the-art institutions right here in the Bronx that everyone can come to and have access to. And I am so very proud, as John said, we have made the largest investment in art and culture in New York City. We have increased our cultural budget by almost $75 million, bringing our total up to almost $300 million in art and cultural opportunities all throughout New York City. And this is your tax-paying dollars. This is your tax-paying dollars coming back to your community, and that's what we wanted this to be. And I'm so happy because this exhibit, The World of Darkness, when I saw the title, I'm not going to tell you exactly what I thought it might be, but I thought it might be a bunch of politicians in there. But that's just a sidebar joke. You don't have to tweet it or anything. But it's so important in this time that we continue to educate our young people, to educate them about what they can be, to learn about our economy, to learn about our education, to learn about our world, our history, our ecosystems. Like, New York City is the greatest city in the world because anything that your child might want to do, they can find it here. If they want to study the habitats, the 21 different habitats and the 25 different nocturnal species, they can come here and learn about that. It's only in New York City where all of this can actually happen. So I'm very proud of everyone who has invested and has put forth their resources to make this happen. I thank everyone for being here today. I want to thank John. I want to thank Jim. I want to thank Adam, our leaders here of this great institution, the Bronx Zoo. It's a place that all of our children and young people can come to, and I'm so excited for the programs that you do here. So enjoy this ribbon cutting, enjoy this beautiful and fabulous day, and I look forward to bringing my own son here, who is 7 years old, who I absolutely know is going to love it. Share this out. Tell your friends and family about it, because this is why New York City is the greatest city in the entire world. Thank you all so very much. And I just love John and how he thinks he's the fashion rebel here out of this trio group, because he wore a white shirt. He's the outlier. I love it, and I love you.
Thank you. Well, we have two more special guests that are going to say a few words. We are really, really fortunate to have are representatives that represent this institution at the New York State Assembly level. He has been a fighter for us. There's something called ZBGA, the Zoo's Botanical Gardens and Aquarium Fund. God, I hope only a few of us have to know what that means, but it is a lifeline for this institution. Senator Serrano carries our water in the Senate, and Assemblyman George Alvarez does here in the Assembly. It is a great honor to have Assemblyman Alvarez here with us.
Welcome to Newsroom Live. I'm Stephanie Bertini, right here in our headquarters on the Upper East Side. This is our newsroom, and we want to give you here on Newsroom Live a look at how we do things here, a look behind the scenes, a look at the news gathering process. There's producers behind me. Our assignment desk is right over there. The managers are somewhere over there. And the reporters are actually off camera in another area of the newsroom, but all working together to bring you the news that you see. We're launching this new effort here on YouTube to really give you a behind-the-scenes look, as I mentioned. And you can actually log on to our YouTube page. And if you have any questions, you can send them in, and we can answer your questions live, right? I'm looking at our web producer right now, who's right beside me. So we want to start off with a look at the Bronx Zoo. Right now, there's a press conference underway. They're introducing a new exhibit. It's called World of Darkness. It features 25 nocturnal species. Very interesting and hyper local, especially for those of you from the Bronx. But also in the summer, we get a lot of tourists in this area, so it's definitely something to see. We're going to throw it over to this press conference now.
Today, ribbon cutting marks a new chapter in celebrating the biodiversity and our shared responsibility to protect it. Here in the Bronx and around the world. John, you're doing an amazing job. The staff of the Bronx Zoo, you're doing an incredible job. Congratulations to everyone involved. And I encourage all my neighborhoods, friends, family to explore, learn, and be inspired. Thank you very much.
Grazie. Thank you. I got it. Okay, I got it. Feel like the Prime Minister of England. I'm sorry. Last but certainly not least, our local city council member. He's a proud Bronx native. He has been our champion throughout his career in public service. We're very, very fortunate to have, representing the 15th Council District, that's our district, Council Member Oswald Feliz. Council Member.
So much. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Councilmember Oswald Feliz, and I am so proud and honored to join all of you to celebrate a brand new exhibit right here in the heart of the Bronx Zoo. An exhibit with so much, including bats. Who's afraid of bats, by the way? There it is. Bats, sloths, and so much more. I want to start by thanking everyone who made this possible. Let's give a big round of applause for everybody at the Bronx Zoo. They fight so hard to make sure institutions like this one have everything they need to continue the work they do. Also, a big round of applause to our commissioner, Laurie Cumbo. I had the privilege of serving with her in the council for about more or less 6 months. I also want to thank all of our assembly colleagues, including George Alvarez. And of course, Assemblymember Serrano, thank you for coming from the Central West Bronx. And the Assemblymember from Joel Rivera. No, just from upstate. The Bronx, this community in the Bronx is a vibrant community. It has so much to offer. Some of the biggest institutions, including right here, the Bronx Zoo, also the Bronx Botanical Garden, and even outside of this area. So much to offer, including Arthur Avenue, some of the best food that the city has to offer. And this community did not become vibrant because of any accident. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of work specifically from those members from this community who work every single day so that we could have what we have today. So again, just want to thank you all for making this a reality. We're making sure that this community continues to be vibrant, and we're giving everybody all the reasons so they could come here, make their way to the Bronx so they can enjoy everything that New York City has to offer. So congratulations. I look forward to visiting all the bats, all the sloths, and having a great time. We're not going to pet them, right? We can't pet them. All right, all right. Thank you. Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you. He's been mentioned, but he's not speaking. He's here on a mission of learning. And they said upstate. So we're thinking like Rockland County. He's actually from Buffalo, which is closer to Cleveland than it is to New York. Assemblyman John Rivera is here from Buffalo, New York. Thank you so much for being with us. With that, I am turning it back to the great... No, I'm not. I'm staying right here. I'm going to keep talking, and we're walking, and we're talking. Dear friend Jim Braheny. Here, brother.
Thanks, John. It's starting to get warm. It's a little humid, so as I promised, we're going to try to move this along. So with John and
Hi, this is Newsroom Live, and Liv Johnson's here. We're talking weather. Is it a day for the zoo? It was raining when I got in.
Not really,
Yeah.
but it could be. It could be, y'all. We're looking. Do we have a map or anything? Yeah. Okay. Yes, we're seeing. Oh.
And then hold on, let me get the banner out of the way.
Okay, 76 degrees. That's the thing I do like about the rain that we just had is it
Yeah.
cooled us down quite a bit. So getting into work today was actually pretty comfortable.
Right.
For some of us, yeah, like you were saying,
Yeah.
there was rain.
A little.
But for me, it was just cloudy and actually pretty enjoyable. On our satellite radar, you can see the showers and storms that we saw last night already kind of moved through. But then the rest of today and kind of tomorrow, it's just kind of that typical summer weather where we're not looking at huge washouts. We're not looking at all-day rain or anything like that, but we are looking at just the chance of a couple showers.
Right.
I think tonight will be in the clear. Like our biggest threat of seeing any rain would be this afternoon, late afternoon into the evening. But overall, not a bad day.
You know, everybody cares about the weather, especially in the summer, but it's been hot lately.
I know. It's been so hot. So we'll
Very
be
hot,
cooler. Very hot, very humid. Today's just going to be a bit more enjoyable in terms of what it feels like outside, but you just might want to have your umbrella handy or at least a jacket or
Yeah.
something for rain.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking out right now at our live picture, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Most of the day
Could
will
be worse.
Yeah, we'll be just fine.
So overall, it's not going to be as hot and sticky
No.
as it's been, right?
No,
Yeah.
not
So that's
today.
good news. You know,
Not
something
today.
trending online. All my curly-haired girls.
Oh,
When it's humid.
my hair has not been able to hold curl and date.
It's like you can't. You
Yeah.
can't. We're just fixing the mic
trying to
here.
get the
This
mic
is very
closer.
behind the scenes. There's a height difference between us, so we're trying to share the mic and get closer. So, recap again. It's been super hot in New York.
Yes.
New Yorkers care about the weather, especially in the summer, because this is our break. But it's been so hot. Now people are complaining that it's been so hot. Today, a little reprieve.
Yeah, today a little bit of a break. We might get some showers that pop up, just kind of randomly. Nothing widespread, nothing too intense. And then really same thing tomorrow. It'll be a bit cooler, but still humid.
Right.
And then a couple shower chances.
All right.
Yeah.
And back to what's trending. My curly-haired girls, my frizzy-haired friends.
I'm right there with you. It's just like useless at this point.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Liv. Thanks
Yeah,
for being here. So
of course.
Liv walked down from the weather area
Yes.
here in the Fox 5 studios. Thanks, Liv. She's going to get ready. Are you on the noon today?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so she'll be on the noon broadcast. So we were giving you an inside look here at the newsroom. So there's two areas where we broadcast. There's the newsroom. That's where we're coming to you live right now. And then there's our studios, which one floor up, you'll get there. We're on the Upper East Side. Welcome to Fox 5 NY Newsroom Live. I'm Stephanie Bertini. I'm so happy you're here. You can send us questions, right, Alex? Yeah. My producer's telling me send your questions or maybe comments too. Depends what they are, though. We might be able to read them live on the air. So we were at the Bronx Zoo. We want to go to a press conference, a NASA press conference now, or what are we thinking?
Yeah, so Live View 5, I'm not really sure what that is, but let's listen
Okay,
in.
we're going to listen in. We got some news coming out about outer space, I guess. Let's
I
take a
don't
look.
think this is space.
It's not a NASA?
This is not NASA, no.
Oh,
this
this
might be
is-
about the hammer attack, but I'm not really sure.
Oh,
Let's
this is
listen in now.
actually a local story. The sentencing on a high-profile case, a hammer attack. We're gonna listen in and then we'll debrief after that. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for being here and for your interest in and attention to this case. This was a life-altering experience. I think of the night of February 24th, 2022, at least once per day. But I am incredibly grateful to everyone who played an indispensable role in my survival and recovery, the police officers, the medics, the fantastic medical surgical teams at Cornell Hospital, and to Assistant District Attorney Lauren Riley and her team. They were phenomenal. They secured this conviction. Mr. Blount will be in prison for until what will probably be the end of his life. And he is 61 now, and 25 years from now is a very long time away. So I am very grateful for all the support and encouragement I have received, and very glad to be able to put this behind me. And move on with the next phase of my life.
Nina, what was it like asking William what that question in court?
I'm sorry?
What was it like asking William what that question in court, the rhetorical question?
Well, I didn't expect an answer, of course, but I had asked it so many times in my head, because what he did was so irrational, grabbing my bag, running off with it. That would have been far easier. I don't know that there was any specific thought running through my head, but was there something you were looking for? Just feeling, I guess there's a certain freedom being able to ask it, not having to worry about whether, it might influence a proceeding or something like that. But it was a certain freedom. I mean, I knew I wouldn't get an answer. I didn't expect to get an answer, but I just wanted to ask it for the record.
How are you feeling right now? 3 years later, can you talk about your health, your physical health, your emotional, mental health?
Thank you for asking. My physical health is excellent. I was restored to full functionality. I'm incredibly grateful, as I've said, to the neurosurgery team, the rehabilitation team, everybody at Weill Cornell Medical Center. They were amazing. My mental health is, I think, pretty good. As I mentioned, I do think about this. It crosses my mind at least once per day, every day, but I do not have recurring nightmares. And I am just, when I think about that period in my life, the immediate aftermath, the recovery, 3-week hospital stay, 2.5 weeks off from work, but I kind of remember it as a point in time when I kind of mentally regrouped. I prepared to re-engage with the world, and I'm incredibly grateful for all the support I received from friends, family, colleagues, physicians, everybody else.
Are you still taking the subway?
Excellent question. I take the subway every day to work. I take the bus every day home from work. There are sometimes some strange people on the bus, but you are above ground. You can always get off. In fact, I did recently, and it literally drops me off in front of my door in Forest Hills.
In fact, the judge said, I'm not sure I've ever imposed a maximum sentence. And clearly, how you testified and what you said today, it touched it on a level. What was that like, to see the judge be so vulnerable and open?
I was kind of surprised. My previous exposure to courtrooms was either going through the voir dire on jury duty or television or movies, and I knew that judges are traditionally very neutral and, not going to try to be as impartial as possible. So I was a little surprised and taken aback, and I feel very grateful to him as well.
How do you feel about the fact that the defendant didn't show remorse? He looked straight ahead when you were giving your victim the impact statement and still maintains his innocence?
Yeah, I find that flabbergasting. I really don't understand. I was sort of surprised to learn that he had these certificates of achievement in while he's been waiting around. I presume that maybe he was told to complete those so that it would look good at the time of the sentencing. But anyhow, I think the fact that he didn't look at me, didn't engage with me, made no attempt at eye contact or anything, was probably an admission of guilt, some kind of culpability.
Last one.
And this was obviously life-changing. How do you move forward? Did this provide closure? How does your life move forward from here?
Well, I will be back at my regular day job tomorrow. I work at the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. My work focuses on emergency preparedness for infectious disease outbreaks. I'm also in the early planning stages of a September vacation. Other than that, I'm ready for the adventures that life may bring.
Thanks, I have one quick question. Ms. Rothschild, Chemistry, New York Post. To what do you attest your incredible bravery and your incredible attitude that has shocked everyone who's met you throughout this ordeal?
I guess I have a certain resilience, and my confidence was really built by the love and support and kindness that I received from so many people. People were so incredibly kind. I was really astonished and am very, very grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where are you going?
Don't tell us.
DA will make a closing remark.
Just for 1 second, if I can. So when you were in the courtroom, you noticed that the judge indicated what a great communicator Ms. Rothschild is, and how she testified in that way, clear, articulate, not angry, just ready to face another day. But I will tell you, as a born and bred New Yorker, the fact that the safety has been questioned now for Ms. Rothschild, right? So she takes the subway to work, and if I may, takes the bus home. It is exactly why we need to hold people accountable for the crimes in the subway. It's exactly why this conviction, it's exactly why this sentence was just so important. Because New Yorkers need to know they can also take the subway at night. New Yorkers need to know that they will be safe in the subway, but they also need to know that when they're not, that defendant will be held accountable. And that's the importance of today. And I also think that the national attention is because of the randomness and really the meaninglessness of this crime, right? As Ms. Rothschild pointed out, the bag could have been taken. That was okay. Bag could have been taken. Not great, but it could have been. The violence that came after that, the violence that was meaningless, was, I think, what the judge today was talking about, and I do think and believe that it is the reason for the maximum sentence of 25 years to life. So, Ms. Rothschild, thank you for your bravery. Thank you for being here the whole time and the cooperation and partnership as we went through this. Thank you to the team for making sure that we got the maximum sentence today. And it should serve as a deterrent for anyone else who commits these crimes in our subways or on our public transportations. New Yorkers tough. New Yorkers are tough.
All right, so that's a news conference underway right now after the victim, who we just heard from a short time ago, Nina Rothschild. She was attacked by a hammer. William Blount was convicted in April of 2022, and we're finding out now he's been sentenced to life in prison. So there's been some discussion around safety and public transportation, which is something that New Yorkers, I think, are weighing in on a daily basis, but also just the crime that we can encounter in the city. Look, New York City is a fast-moving city, dynamic, that includes a lot of things, including crime. And so, of course, there's that sentiment out there that something like this can't deter us from living our daily lives. And we're seeing this victim speak. Obviously, she survived this attack, and now with this sentencing, we're hearing the sentiment that she's ready to keep living her life. We're hearing from one of you on YouTube. Again, you can send questions or you can write into us. We're live in the Fox 5 newsroom on the Upper East Side. Coming in on YouTube, people have become numb towards other human beings. Human life is not valuable nor treasured. Lawlessness is abound without check. So that's a comment coming in from someone watching us here on YouTube. You know, our reporters, we're used to covering crime, and our Linda Schmidt right now is getting ready for our noon broadcast to cover this sentencing. I mean, we see every face of everyday life here in New York City. And of course, being in New York City, we also cover those national and international headlines. So there's a lot that we see. And, you know, as a journalist of almost 20 years, I can say, Alex, we do see bad things, but we also see good things. So I think always on a day like today where we see justice being served, we've got to be reminded that there are checks and balances in society, right? So again, Covering a lot of headlines. We are live in the Fox 5 newsroom. I'm Stephanie Bertini. We're going to take a quick break, and then I'll be right back. And I'm going to give you an inside look at what our reporters are working on today. Hello, good morning, almost afternoon. It's 11:52. We are live. We're in the Fox 5 newsroom, and we are looking over beautiful New York City. To all of you on YouTube watching us live, thanks for being here. I'm Stephanie Bertini. So right now we have a very busy newsroom. We're giving you an inside look at the news gathering process here. This is the area of the newsroom right behind me where our producers are. Just behind them is our news desk. Those are the people that decide what the reporters will do. I think they're sending me out soon, right, Alex? My web producer's right beside me, helping me bring you this live stream. So a couple of my colleagues are already on assignment right now, including Linda Schmidt. If you were with us, Linda Schmidt is actually covering the hammer attack out of Long Island City. Sentencing today, William Blount convicted in April of 2022. We heard from the victim, Nina Rothschild, talking about this high-profile subway attack. All of that bringing up the conversation about safety when it comes to public transit and overall safety and crime in the city. In this case, we are seeing justice being served, and I know Linda will be live at noon on Fox 5. So my colleague, Morgan, who covers the political beat here, Morgan is covering the endorsement. Congressman Espaillat, a very well-known individual here in the New York City area, endorsing Zohran Mamdani for mayor. So this is a major headline, of course. This is a big endorsement from Mamdani, who was really not known very well before he decided to run for mayor. And now we're seeing his notoriety rise, especially after beating Andrew Cuomo when it comes to the Democratic primaries. That was a little while ago, and now we're seeing this huge endorsement. So we're covering that headline. A few other things that we're working on here in the newsroom. A big story we brought to you yesterday, which started with exclusive reporting. My colleague Arthur Chen was doing these stories out of the South Bronx about this open air drug market. This was coverage that we brought you exclusively for several months. And then we started to see the story pick up. Yesterday, we heard from officials who are now asking the mayor to clean up this area. So Arthur wasn't here. So they sent me out and I was able to cover that. And it was really remarkable to see. So the section we're talking about, it's an area of the South Bronx. It's known as the hub in the South Bronx, to give you across Melrose and 149th. So there's a subway station there. When you get off the subway, you would see people, and we saw that video. We brought you that video doing drugs. We heard of drug sales, people publicly defecating outside, just a real eyesore for the area, for lack of better terms. Business owners in that area were very upset. And the reason that they're upset is because they're like, look, this is making people not want to come here to buy food and other things, to come to our stores. Congressman Torres has been speaking up. It's interesting because Congressman Torres, he's from the Bronx. So obviously this is, I think it's safe to say something that's very close to his heart. He actually said that this wouldn't be allowed to get to this point in other areas. He said this is happening because it's the Bronx. There was a news conference, and that news conference was early in the day yesterday. And then we saw the NYPD come out, the Adams administration saying, look, we are addressing this. So here's another layer to this. If it's something criminal like selling drugs, the Adams administration saying, look, the NYPD can crack down on that. But if we're talking about people who are apparently high, if there's no criminality there, you can't just arrest people for, sitting around. Even if the community doesn't like it, you can't criminalize that. So there's a balance there for the administration. And this is me paraphrasing what I was told yesterday on the ground. But our news crew was there from the news conference into the afternoon. And then by the time we hit the air at 5 o'clock on Fox 5, there were barricades put up, that area cleared out, and what looks like some sort of a substation or a checkpoint for authorities now set up. So we're expecting an NYPD presence there. And I expect my colleague, thorough journalist Arthur Chen, to check back with the story, because again, he was breaking these stories exclusively and bringing you updates. So of course, we're going to stay on that as we continue to update all our Fox 5 exclusives and cover your major headlines here in the city. We're live now looking at what seems to be section. I mean, there's pylons up. Is this a little wreck maybe? Or maybe he broke down. All right. We are over New York City right now with the chopper. Looks like there's always construction in New York City, right, Alex? There's always something going on.
That's what's fun about watching choppers.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to see.
Yeah, for those of you just joining us, we had Liv Johnson from the weather team. She was here a little earlier talking about how today it's just not as hot. It's been so brutal, right, Alex? Alex is behind the scenes here with our web team, leading the coverage and helping us bring you this live stream. Thank you, Alex. We appreciate you. And thank you all for joining us. So this is something we're doing, Fox 5 NY Newsroom Live. I'm Stephanie Bertini. We're going to be coming to you live at 11:30 in the morning, and we want you to communicate with us. Send us your questions. Send us your comments. We got to vet the comments. We can't just put anything out there, but we want you to send it in and to engage with us. And we want to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how we're gathering the news and how we're disseminating information through our television platform, of course, and our digital platforms. It's important for us to understand that you know what we're doing here in the Fox 5 newsroom. And we want to hear from you as well. If you have any tips, any ideas, you can also email me. I'm an aggressive reporter, Alex, so I want those tips and ideas. But we always want to hear from you guys because you really are the ears to the ground, and what we do is for you. So we want to, again, thank you for joining us here. on Newsroom Live. Again, I'm Stephanie Bertini. Such a pleasure to be with you today as we get ready to start the afternoon. It's 11:59. If you're watching on Fox Local, stay tuned because now the noon newscast is about to begin. Bianca Peters, of course, anchoring the newscast today. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can stay. You can continue streaming because we bring you live events from across New York City, the U.S., and the world right here on our YouTube page. And we are so grateful to you for being here. Another live look, if we want to bring you outside again. Can we, Alex? Yeah. There's New York City. Beautiful New York, New York, New York.
We're gonna go. We're ready to go.
All right.
Thank you.
Karina Sanchez, thank you for just being a pillar and supporting us through this. Thank you for fighting alongside us and making sure our rights as tenants are not ignored. To Jean from the Allerton International Merchants, thank you for continuing to support us and reminding us that community care is real and powerful. And thank you to the youth who are here today to share their testimony. Your story, Dean Bernard. I am a tenant leader for 2910 Wallace Avenue. And all I can say is, wow. I can't believe it's been half a year already. So we're standing here in front of our building 6 months later. Since that day, my family, along with many others, have been displaced. We were forced to live in shelters. Some were forced to live with family members, where others were forced to just move to another state. 6 months later, and we're waiting for answers. 6 months later, we are still waiting for justice. 6 months later, and 2910 still looks like this. Vet Park Cash and the system continues to fail us. This press conference is not just about what happened 6 months ago, it's about what hasn't happened since. Our situation is not just unfortunate, it's shameful, despicable, inhumane, and a direct case of a corrupt landlord's negligence. Whew, Lord, that took a lot. Okay, so we are gonna have two young people start with their testimony. Their names is Emily and Johanny Cuevas, so please make a round of applause for them. Come on, ladies. Come on. Yes, stand right there, baby.
Let me talk. Introduce yourself. I'm Emily Cuevas. This is my little sister, Joanny Cuevas. Oh, sorry. I would just like to say that my parents worked hard for all the things we had in here. We made amazing friends, an amazing neighbor, Miss Yolanda, and yeah, we would thank you guys so much. We would love to see this all brand new, and yeah.
Hi, my name is Johanny Cuevas, and I was recommended by PS76 Bennington School, and they gave us all the stuff that we needed for this apartment to to get to
Give me. It's okay.
and we got all the justice that we needed, and I'm really glad to be in that school, and yeah.
At least we have a roof behind our head. Thank you so much.
Also, special shout out to the tenants of 2910 Wallace. Also, 14 Noble is here as well. So I do want to give a round of applause for the tenants that are here, still standing, still advocating, still fighting for justice. The next person we're going to have up to speak is Elva. She is actually going to read a statement for her daughter, Daisy Balinas. Elva?
Yes, Elva. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. My English is not too well, but I'm gonna try, like always, do my best. Oh, okay, I gotta do my English. Okay, I'm right here, like all the times, because I'm part from the tenants, 2910 Wallace Avenue. This is a, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm nervous. This is the 6th month. One more anniversary for what happened. It's not easy, all this process. It's really hard. But I'm right here for all my neighbors, like always, be together. Thank you to you all people, be always giving us a support. Thank you for a lot of people, they don't live here, but they be with us. I'm representing my daughter. For some reason, she's not here. Because she's a girl that loves school. She's taking some extra classes and by line, but I'm here. She gave me a letter, but it's in Spanish. So, I'm gonna sing Spanish first, okay? Tales. Tengo 15 años. Acabo de terminar mi 9º grado de high school. Soy una niña tranquila, callada, muy reservada, pero con mi sueño es ser arquitecto. El incendio me ha traumado, psicológico, mental y físico. Desde los primeros días me he sentido extraña, sin ánimos. Mis calificaciones han bajado. Soy una estudiante que antes era súper alta no hay nada que me haga sentir que esta es mi vida. Ya me es muy difícil concentrarme en mis clases. La distancia hacia la escuela ahora es más lejos. Los cambios de un hotel a otro me han traumado. El transporte público, horarios, que al despertar ahora tengo que hacerlo más temprano de lo habitual. Todo esto es un paquete de estrés, de emociones. He encontrado una terapia, mi lectura.
Necesitamos un líder en la alcaldesa que nos ayude a representar los intereses de nuestras comunidades y para asegurar que obtengamos una comunidad que sea asequible para nuestra comunidad. Y yo pienso que con el apoyo y respaldando a Zoran Mandani, él es el candidato para traer ese cambio. Muchísimas gracias.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Washington Heights and to the wonderful United Palace. This is my district. This is District 10. And I'm proud to represent this resilient community that today welcomes our nominee, our Democratic nominee for mayor, Zoran Mandani. Zoran is my friend, but Zoran is also a man with a plan and a bold vision for what our city can achieve. A city that centers workers. Is labor in the house? A city that centers working families and believes that child care should be accessible to each and every one of us. A city that believes that tenants, the plight of tenants, needs urgency. And so today I am proud to join our congressman and join our entire community in celebrating not only Zoran's victory, but to make sure that we are ushering him into City Hall come this November. So to my friend Zoran, I say welcome back. We already had Frio Frio in Washington Heights a few days before the election, and we know that we will have many more. Muchas gracias a todos. Soy la concejal Carmen de la Rosa. Para mí es un honor poder darle la bienvenida nuevamente a nuestro amigo Zoran Mandani, que es el nominado demócrata de la ciudad de Nueva York para la alcaldía. Le tengo que decir que yo conozco a Zoran. Conozco su corazón, conozco su trabajo y entiendo de que Zoran tiene un plan y una visión para una ciudad donde todos podamos vivir, todos podemos vivir con dignidad, donde las personas trabajadoras puedan tener un alquiler asequible, donde los niños puedan tener cuidado infantil y más que nada donde el trabajador se sienta que lo estamos escuchando y estamos resolviendo los problemas de nuestra comunidad. Así que felicidades Zoran y gracias a nuestro congresista por tomar este paso de decir presente para el Partido Demócrata, para nuestra comunidad y para nuestro amigo Zoran Mandani. Ahora tengo el honor de presentar a una mujer que es una luchadora en nuestra comunidad, que tiene toda una industria de choferes trabajando en las calles de Nueva York. It is my honor to introduce a woman who needs no introduction here in Washington Heights. She leads an industry of taxi drivers, for-hire vehicle drivers in our community. They are not only an economic engine here, but she has really shown her leadership as a woman who is strong and who is brave and who has been able to put food on the table for generations of uptowners for decades. La señora Cira Ángeles.
Good morning. My name is Cira Ángeles, transportation advocate and owner of LA Riverside Group. As a proud member of this coalition, I am honored to stand before you today in support of Zoran Mandani for mayor of New York City. For too long, our transportation systems have been left behind the very communities that kept the city moving. Whether it's the immigrant driver operator who owns a livery base in Washington Heights, or the Medicare patient who depends on that livery base to get to a medical appointment, we need leadership that understands that transportation is more than just a matter of infrastructure. It's about equity, access, and economic survival. Zoran has shown the instinct to listen and the courage to act. His willingness to engage with and uplift the voices of small immigrant-owned transportation businesses gives us hope that real change is really possible. I look forward to continuing these important conversations. Together, we can build a more just and inclusive transportation future for all New Yorkers. Thank you, Congressman Espaillat and the leadership for the Democratic Party for convening this coalition and giving voice to our community in these important and challenging times. Mi nombre es Cira Ángeles. Soy parte de una coalición de transporte en la ciudad de Nueva York representando Livery Base Owners en LA Riverside Group. Soy un miembro con mucho honor de estar aquí en esta coalición y apoyar a Zoran Mandani para alcalde de la ciudad de Nueva York. Por muchos años, el sistema de transporte se ha quedado atrás en las mismas comunidades donde está sirviendo y que mantiene a la ciudad moviéndose. Una comunidad de inmigrantes, de operadores, de familias, de bases que transportan no solamente a nuestra comunidad, pero también a las personas que van a sus citas médicas. Necesitamos un liderazgo que entienda que el transporte es más que un simple asunto de infraestructura. Se trata de equidad, se trata de acceso y se trata también de sobrevivir económicamente. Zoran nos ha enseñado que tiene el instinto de escucharnos y el coraje de actuar. Sus deseos de involucrarse en la comunidad y con las voces de nuestras pequeñas empresas es realmente inspirador. Nuestras comunidades inmigrantes, que son dueñas de la mayoría de bases y sistemas de transportes en la ciudad, están realmente esperanzadas de que tendremos un verdadero cambio. Miro hacia adelante para continuar estas importantes conversaciones, porque juntos podemos construir un sistema más justo, más inclusivo del transporte y también del futuro de los empleados de nuestra industria y las familias que dependen de ellos en la ciudad de Nueva York. Gracias al congresista Adriano Espaillat por convenir esta coalición y a todos los oficiales electos y la comunidad demócrata que se ha unido para decir que en estos momentos difíciles tenemos que apoyar un candidato que tenga el coraje para seguir hacia adelante. Mi apoyo, nuestro apoyo, es para Zoran Mandani. Now I have the pleasure to introduce someone that I highly respect, someone in our community that has led the National Supermarket Association for many decades, and someone who represents every single part of our five borough. He understands how we move. Mi querido amigo, que tengo el honor de presentar a Rudy Fuerte, que ha sido el presidente en múltiples ocasiones, por décadas, de la Asociación Nacional de Supermercados.
Thank you, Cedar. Good evening, Washington High. How's everybody? Good evening, members of the media. My name is Rudy Fuertes. I'm a permanent board member of the National Supermarket Association and past president multiple times. And we're glad to be here today. First of all, to understand that you guys understand that I'm coming from the supermarket business, and I've been in the business for 40 years. And one of my stores is, the closest store to this location is 179 Broadway, which was my store. And I had the opportunity yesterday to speak with the assemblyman and the next mayor of New York, Mr. Saham Mandani, and to understand the projects and the programs, especially in the supermarket and the areas that we operate. And after speaking to him, I'm very proud and happy when he explained to us that he actually is focusing in areas in the desert zone with the more unfortunate people live, and they try to make more affordable. And when we understand all the different rest of the programs and projects, which is aiming to making more affordable the city, which in the end help the community that we serve, I say we presence. We here with Congressman Espaillat, and we thank Congressman Espaillat to make the connection with our industry. And we're glad and happy to be here today, say that we endorse him for the next mayor of New York, Mr. Saham Mandani. Thank you, everybody.
All right. All right. Good afternoon, Democrats. I say good afternoon, Democrats. Okay, well. Good afternoon. Yeah, it's past 12 already. New York City is at a tipping point. I've been in this neighborhood since 1964. In fact, I used to come here to watch movies when it was the lowest theater as a young boy. And New York City is at a tipping point where many tenants find themselves at a landlord-tenant court fighting an eviction. I know that because I've accompanied some of them to court. where small businesses cannot pay the rent and they find themselves with their hands strapped, shackled, fighting an eviction. Where young families cannot make ends meet and they choose to move, Assemblyman, to places like Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Waterbury, Connecticut, and Lawrence, Massachusetts. Other places where affordability gives that family, that young family, oxygen and opportunity to move forward with their newborn children. This is a city that is at a tipping point, at a precipice, unlike ever before. And so we need someone that will represent those tenants, those small business people, those families that are up against the wall without the ability to breathe, trying to stay in a city that they love and that they grew up in. So this is so important. Now, we had a robust primary. We had a tough primary. We're a party, the Democratic Party is a big tent party with different opinions, with different people from all over the world, with different subgroups that bring a lot of ideas to the table. That's what makes us a strong party, the diversity of our membership. And I will be damned if I see the party go down. We're going to make sure we unite. A united Democratic Party cannot be defeated. Cannot be defeated. United, we will win. United as a party, we will win. And we represent as a party the best interest of those families that find themselves in landlord-tenant court, the small business people that are having a hard time paying the rent, and families that are having a hard time making ends meet. And we're under attack by Donald Trump and the Republicans. So we have no choice but to come together. I visited the detention centers and I met with the people that are being deported. Let me tell you, they're working moms. They're working fathers. People that have never committed a crime are now finding themselves being separated roughly from their families. That is fundamentally un-American. So that's why the Democratic Party must come together. And this is the moment where we begin to come together as Democrats in this city. And so we've had our primary, we had our election, and the people have spoken. And the Democrats have spoken. And they have said clearly that they have selected Assemblyman Sora Mandani to be our nominee of the Democratic Party. So, as a lifelong Democrat, I have never chosen to be outside of the Democratic lane. And we will continue to back those candidates, those nominees that our voters tell us that they support. Now, we will have our differences. And many people have spoken about his stand on global issues and my stand. And you know, we will build consensus. That's what this city is about. He's expressed to me his commitment to protect everybody, every single New Yorker, and to fight anti-Semitism in the city of New York. And we will come together, and we, as good Democrats, we will work out our differences. But the people have spoken. So if for me it is a privilege and an honor to be here and support Assemblyman Zoran Mandani for mayor of the city of New York. Now we need him. We need him. We need him. We need him. Without white. This little group here, I saw, they're dangerous. Now we have with us today Elsie Encarnacion, who's the nominee for the Democratic Party also in East Harlem, en el barrio. Ella es la nominada como concejal y el sur del Bronx también. And so, to fight Donald Trump and his authoritarian ways, we must continue to work together. We believe in opportunity. We believe in the American dream. We believe in helping those that come behind us and don't have necessarily the same opportunities that we have. We believe in those values. Those are democratic values. Those are American values of this nation. That's what's made this nation great. And we will not give up on America. We will not give up on the city of New York. That same city that took a young boy, 8 years old, who came from the Dominican Republic with no papers, who went back and got his green card, struggled to go to college and learn English, and then gave him the opportunity to walk the hallways of the U.S. Congress as a representative of this district. And so, estamos aquí para apoyar el candidato demócrata. La comunidad ya habló en las primarias y determinó de manera determinante, fuerte, de que tienen su candidato, su nominado para la alcaldía de la ciudad de Nueva York. Esta es una ciudad que se ve cerca del precipicio, donde familias tienen grandes dificultades de pagar la renta. Yo lo conozco así porque yo lo he acompañado a la Corte de Vivienda, donde enfrentan un desalojo, donde pequeños negocios también se enfrentan a un juez porque no pueden pagar su renta, su alquiler, donde familias jóvenes se tienen que mudar a otras ciudades porque la renta está muy alta y el costo de la vida se ha disparado y se tienen que ir a sitios como Allentown, Bethlehem, Waterbury, Lawrence, Massachusetts, porque es más barato allá. La ciudad necesita un cambio dramático para preservar la mística de Nueva York, que es una ciudad que le da oportunidades a todos. Y por tal razón, para mí es un privilegio estar aquí y darle el apoyo y presentarle a ustedes al próximo alcalde de la ciudad de Nueva York, el asambleísta Zoran Mandani.
So, first I must begin. Mi gente, lo siento. Yo no hablo español, solamente en inglés. Pero I can say this, to all that's been said before me, claro que sí. It is such a pleasure to be here today. Such a pleasure to stand alongside an incredible trailblazer in Congressman Adriano Espaillat. A pleasure to stand here alongside Councilmember Abreu, Councilmember De La Rosa, soon-to-be Councilmember Encarnacion, and to stand here alongside so many of the other leaders outside of elected office. Leaders like Cira Angeles, leaders like Rudy Fuertes, and leaders in organized labor. Is Unite here in the house? Is HTC in the house? And we know that they're in the house because this message of this campaign, the message of these incredible leaders, it is a message about working people. And organized labor is the way that so many working people have got a foothold in the city that they call home. Because as we fight income inequality, we know that the greatest tool is labor density. And you know, in this moment, a little more than 2 weeks from the primary, much has been written about the first, the way in which we are making history. And it's tempting in reading that to think of oneself as separate from that which has come before. But when I have had to read the smears and the slander from Republican congresspeople, I need not look far to find a leader who has had to endure the same. The same on the basis of his name, on the basis of where he comes from, on the basis of who he fights for. And in that same story, an inspiration of how to rise not only above, but through, and deliver for those same people. Because this is a moment when we have to do many things at once. We have to fight the authoritarian administration in Washington, D.C. We have to fight for the working people in this city who are being pushed out of the place that they call home. And I look at Congressmember Espaillat, and I see a guide for how to do both of those things at the same time. His endorsement, it is not only immensely meaningful, personally, but also politically. Because my dream as the next mayor of New York City is to deliver for the people who make this city great. And the only way we can deliver that is together. It is through partnership. It is by recognizing the incredible work that has come before this moment to allow for the possibility of this moment. And I see that partnership in Congressman Espaillat. I see that partnership in the New York delegation. And I see that partnership in the work that we will do to take back the House next year. And that is a partnership that extends to every single level of government, because none of this can be done alone. And we stand here also speaking about the struggles of Latino New Yorkers. Latino New Yorkers who know the pain of an affordability crisis all too well, who are facing the highest levels of housing insecurity of any group that calls this city their home. And who, as the congressmen were saying, will always know that they are New Yorkers, but may start to have to leave this city in order to afford the life that they deserve to live. And so when we ran this campaign and continue to do so, in speaking about freezing the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants, about making buses fast and free, about delivering universal childcare, we knew that these were struggles that Latino New Yorkers were feeling each and every day. And I was proud to win the support of a majority of Latinos here in New York City. And I will be prouder still to continue to introduce this campaign, this vision, these commitments to each and every person that calls this city their home. Because I will not simply be a mayor for those New Yorkers that gave us more than 12% of a victory 2 weeks ago. I will not simply be a mayor for the more than 500,000 New Yorkers who gave us the most votes of any Democratic nominee in our city's primary history. I will be a mayor for everyone who calls this city home. And I am so excited at working together with everyone here at this stage and everyone alongside us in making that clear day after day. Because this general election is also an opportunity to show what the next administration will look like. And it will look like an administration squarely focused on the needs of working people. And I will tell you, when I met with the congressman, the questions he asked me were not about himself, were not about politics, they were about people. Will you work with me to deliver for the people who call this city their home? Will you make sure they can actually move across their city and afford their public transit? Will you ensure that we can create good jobs?
He is focused on the work. We are focused on the work. And that is who I will be as the mayor of this city. And we know that this is all taking place at a time when we have a president seeking to attack the very fabric of our city and our country. I stand alongside the first man to have formerly been undocumented and become a congressman in the history of this country. And as he came to this city at the age of 8, I came to this city at the age of 7. This is the city that I grew up in. This is the city that I went to school in. This is the city that I got my citizenship in. This is the city I fell in love with. It's the city where I got married. And as I seek to represent this city, I'm having to face a president of this country who has spoken about his desire to denaturalize me, to deport me, to arrest me, to take over this city. And I find great strength in those that I am standing alongside, because I know that I am not alone in this struggle. And I know that, frankly, what threatens this president, it's not me as an individual, it's this as a movement. Because he ran a race saying that he was focused on working people. And we can see the betrayal of those people in almost every single act he has taken. We can see the betrayal of those people in the legislation he has just pushed through Congress. A betrayal that will be felt in food being stolen from the hungry, in healthcare being taken from the needy, in dignity being stripped of those that make this country what it is. And he knows that this is the movement that can fight back against every single part of that. And it is a joy to lead this movement, not just to City Hall, but to ensure that we finally showcase what it is that makes this city and this country so special. It's its people. It's the people who wake up every single morning, they go to work every day, and no matter how hard they work, they still do not have enough money in their pockets. And we are going to change that to make the most expensive city in the United States of America affordable for each and every person who calls it home. Thank you so much.
We're going to take just a few questions. Andrew, NBC4.
For Assemblymember Mamdani, we've seen from business leaders like Kathy Wild, Attorney General Tish James, and others have asked you to consider keeping Police Commissioner Jessica Tish, not only specifically because they like the job she's doing, but to reassure New Yorkers that your agenda isn't too radical. So I'm wondering if you can tell us where you are on that.
So for many months over the course of the primary, I have said that I would consider keeping on Commissioner Tish, and I've said that in admiration of the work that she has done as the commissioner, and especially the swift and decisive action that she took to uproot corruption out of the upper echelons of the police department, and what we see in the lowering of crime across the city. And I will continue to consider. I believe that it's premature to make any personnel commitments at this time, but it's a consideration that is real, and it's in keeping with the city that we're fighting for.
Member Espaillat, just a few weeks ago in the primary, it was in May, you endorsed Andrew Cuomo. Assemblymember Mamdani has been talking about affordability for 8 months. So why did you back the wrong horse in the primary?
Well, we're past the primary, and the people of New York City have spoken. And if there is a common denominator in every decision that I make since I began to represent this district, in terms of supporting someone, is called the Democratic Party.
Going to go to Cranes next, Barbara Cranes. For Congressman Espaillat first, could you just say, what it is that you think is holding back your fellow members of Congress, or members of the Senate, from taking the same step you're taking now to endorse the Assembly member? And then I have a question.
Well, I cannot speak for anybody else, but what I could tell you is that I, along with them, will fight like hell to ensure that we make Hakeem Jeffries our next Speaker of the House of Representatives. And we're laser focused in that. And let me tell you, no one will benefit more from having a Democratic-led House of Representatives than the city of New York. And the next mayor of the city of New York will be able to deliver services to its people if we have an ally in the House of Representatives. And that ally has a first name and a last name. His name is Hakeem Jeffries.
Could you talk about what kinds of conversations you've had with business and real estate leaders in the last couple of weeks? I know that's a question on a lot of people's minds is what kinds of conversations you've had, what are you doing to allay some of the fears that they've expressed?
I just want to add one thing to what the congressman said, and then I'll go to your question. When I think of the mayor that I most admire in the history of our city, I think of Fiorello LaGuardia. And so much of what Mayor LaGuardia was able to accomplish was as a result of the partnership he had with the federal administration of his time. And when I speak about partnership, it's not only because I think that should be at the core of the kind of politics we practice, it is also because I know that these are the very leaders who have been focused on these same fights for so long, who've been on the front lines of fighting back against Donald Trump, and they'll be the same leaders who will help deliver this vision back to this city. When we think about expanding the 2nd Avenue subway, that is not an issue of exclusively municipal focus or state focus. It's only possible also because of federal focus. That is something that can transform people's lives. We've already seen what it can do, and there's still more work to be done to honor a commitment that was made decades ago. So I share that to say that this is work that we are sincerely committed to. This is a partnership that we are sincerely committed to. And to your question, I've been having many a conversation with business leaders, with the real estate industry, and what I've shared is that my commitments, my beliefs, they're well known. I've made them time and again over the course of this campaign. Those are the same ones I say on the phone or on the street. And I am always committed to having that conversation. My vision of this city is not one where any business leader leaves this city, where any real estate developer feels as if they have no place in this city. It is a vision of this city where everyone stays, everyone thrives, and we actually make enough room for more to join us. Because we know there are so many people who would love to live in New York City, but we have made it so expensive that it remains a dream, when in fact it could be and it must be a reality. We must grow this city, we must grow this state, we must ensure that we are held up as the example of what politics could look like, a stark contrast to what Donald Trump wants it to be.
Last question, Pix 11.
Right here. How you doing, sir? I know this a version of this question was just directed to Congress for a little while.
You might have to change the question.
Yeah. I was just wondering if you could update us on subsequent conversations you've had with top leaders such as Governor Hochul, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer. How soon can we expect an event similar to this with some of those leaders?
The conversations I've had with Governor Hochul, with Congressman Jeffries, with Senator Schumer, they have been conversations that have been productive. They have been conversations that I have enjoyed. They have been conversations that always have focused on the importance of affordability. And what I've appreciated is that amidst that focus, these same leaders have pushed back against Donald Trump's attempts to smear me, to slander me, to threaten me. And they have done so without hesitation. They have done so because that is what makes so many of us Democrats. A belief not only in the big tent nature of our party, but in the fact that rights, recognition, these are things that each and every New Yorker deserves. And the knowledge that if a president of this country is willing to threaten the Democratic nominee for the mayoralty of the city of New York, what are they willing to threaten and do to immigrants whose names they don't even know? And I am excited at continuing to have those conversations, to build that partnership, because ultimately what unites all of us is fighting for the people of this city and fighting back against authoritarianism in Washington, D.C.
Great.
Thank
you guys. Assemblyman Mamdani has to get on the road. You guys are welcome to ask questions to the congressman.
Next question.
We're going to be over here. Okay. Yes.
Scott, earlier this week, there were a group of Democrats that gathered that were talking about ways to thwart Assemblyman Mamdani's campaign. Former Governor David Patterson was among them. He said that if Assemblyman Mamdani was the cure for what ails the Democratic Party, then cyanide is the cure for a headache. So I'm just wondering what your response is to Democrats like Governor David Patterson and others who haven't joined this coalition like you are?
Well, it has not been my style nor my practice to criticize, especially somebody of the stature of former Governor Patterson, because I think that amongst us Democrats, we must build consensus. But I am here as part of a coalition that's supporting Zohran Mamdani, because, as I said earlier, the city is at a precipice and people are forced to move out because they can't make ends meet. And I think he represents that vision. I think more and more people are lining up with that vision. Labor unions are there. Yesterday, the United Federation of Teachers came along. Other unions that are here and elected officials, as well as community leaders that met with him, have been supportive of his vision.
Next question.
La pregunta que se hacen muchas personas, usted en un momento apoyó al alcalde Adams, también lo hizo con el exgobernador en las primarias. ¿Qué fue lo que le hizo verdaderamente ahora usted hacer ese cambio?
El denominador común en todas esas decisiones ha sido y seguirá siendo que él es el nominado del Partido Demócrata. Yo soy demócrata, fui demócrata, soy demócrata y seguiré siendo demócrata. Y no vamos a permitir que nuestro partido se vea afectado de una manera que se pueda desmantelar. Estamos aquí para fortalecerlo y yo creo que esta es la decisión correcta para fortalecer nuestro partido. Thank you so much, everybody.
That's his decision.
The spot left in the parking lot at the George W. Bush Presidential Library in Dallas for the vigil that was held there. At the University of Texas, students gathered at UT Tower in Austin to honor Chloe Childress and Catherine Ferruzzo, Camp Mystic counselors and the incoming freshmen. Chloe lost her life in the flooding, and Catherine remains unaccounted for at this time. As a father of 2 daughters, I can't imagine what these parents are going through, or grandparents, or family, or friends, given the loss of these young girls, these lives that had only just begun. For those who are still waiting to hear news about their missing children or family members, we know that they should know that we are doing everything humanly possible to find them and to bring them home. And while I can't show the photos of every person who's died or still missing due to the flooding, I want all who've lost loved ones to know that the prayers of those of us here, and I believe across the nation, are lifting them up and are with them during their time of unimaginable grief. Madam President, I yield the floor.
President.
From Nevada.
Thank you, Madam President. The World Series of Poker is currently underway in my hometown of Las Vegas, Nevada, where tens of thousands of Americans converge around one of the largest and most prestigious gaming events across the globe. This world-renowned tournament and the visitors who flock to Nevada to witness it help drive my state's economy. Anyone who's ever heard of Las Vegas knows that our gaming industry is a massive contributor to our state GDP. Unfortunately, tucked into Republicans' tax bill was a provision that puts the industry at risk, not just in Nevada, but across the country. Until last week, the law of the land was that gamblers could deduct 100% of their losses from their annual taxes. For example, if a gambler won $500,000 and lost $500,000 in a year, that gambler would be able to deduct $500 from their taxes and break even. But under the new law that was recently passed by the Republicans and signed into law by the president, gamblers will only be able to deduct 90% of their losses on their annual taxes. So that same taxpayer would now have $50,000 in taxable income, even though they lost everything they won that year. They'd literally be paying taxes on money they don't have. This makes no sense. And it will do irreparable harm to our country's gaming industry if it takes effect, especially in Nevada. It will disincentivize professional gamblers, like players at the World Series of Poker, from doing what they do best and contributing to our economy. It will move major events that drive our economy offshore and push wagering into illegal markets. And it could push tourists who come to Vegas, it could punish tourists who come to Vegas to win big. Let me be clear. The Republican tax bill is full of provisions that are bad for Nevada and this country. That's why I didn't vote for it. And while it will take years to undo the damage that bill will cause, this ridiculous gaming tax is something we can fix today. That's largely because this provision being included in that tax bill was a result of Republicans haphazardly inventing new budget rules to ram their debt-busting bill through Congress. These new rules they made up forced them to make changes to existing policy, even if it made that policy worse for Americans. And that's what happened here. Nobody thinks this is a good idea. And I'm not sure many of my Republican colleagues even knew this was in the bill that they passed. So I am proposing a simple solution, which is a return to the previous policy. My legislation would allow taxpayers to once again deduct 100% of their losses from their yearly taxes. We must make this fix. Nevadans take pride in our gaming industry, and the current law could cause serious damage to my state and to our country as a whole. So, Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that notwithstanding Rule 22, as if in legislative session, the Finance Committee be discharged from further consideration of S 2230 and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration. I further ask that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection?
Madam President,
Senator from Indiana.
reserving the right to object. Madam President, as my distinguished colleague is very much aware, a number of important and impactful provisions from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act were challenged and unfortunately stricken during bird challenges. There are also a number of provisions that had to be written in a very specific way to comply with these bird rules. The underlying bill is an effort to fix one of those instances, and I'm supportive of this policy change. I want to make that clear. Another provision that was unfortunately not included in the final bill as a result of the bird rules was an exemption for qualified religious institutions from the excise tax on investment income of certain private colleges and universities, also known as the University Endowment Tax. The qualified religious institution provision would exempt any institution that, in short, is long-standing and has substantive ties to a religious organization. Religious institutions have served a very important purpose in our country throughout our history and have by and large not been offenders of the woke and DEI problems rampant at many other major universities with large endowments. As long as my Democratic colleagues are keen on fixing provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that were the result of this bird process, I think it's only fair that we fix this one as well. Again, I strongly support the underlying bill, but we'll have to object unless you can agree to my request. Accordingly, I ask that the senator modify her request to include my amendment, which is at the desk, that the amendment be considered and agreed to, the bill as amended be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there an objection to the modification?
Reserving the right to object, Madam President.
Senator from Oregon.
Madam President, I want everybody to understand what is going on here on the floor of the Senate. Last week, the Republicans passed a gigantic bill full of massive cuts to health care and food assistance, as well as huge tax handouts to big corporations and the ultra-wealthy. It also included a lot of smaller scale policies that didn't get a lot of notice. And in a lot of cases, they were just half-baked, poorly written, and now I see Republican senators walking all over the Capitol saying they didn't even know anything about this policy and this process. Now, the Republican bill is full of special carve-outs for some groups, new taxes on others. The fact is, when you rush a process like this way, and cram in all of these policies that you haven't really thought about, you risk some consequences for people back home. And that is what is going on here in this attempt by our colleague to pass this special tax carve-out for one institution, just one, in his home state. Now, Finance Committee's Democratic staff already litigated this issue in bipartisan meetings with the parliamentarian, We knocked this proposal out of the Republican bill specifically for one reason. It's a special carve-out, and it's plain and simple. That's what's going on. My own view is, if my Republican colleagues want to exempt their home state colleges and universities from the endowment tax, they shouldn't have passed this deeply flawed bill in the first place. So I strongly support our colleague from Nevada's efforts. I oppose the amendment proposed by our Finance Committee colleague, Senator Young, and I close by way of saying it's just not right to give a special home state tax carve-out a free ride on an entirely separate proposal. Therefore, I object.
I object. It's understandable that my colleagues would want to characterize this eminently reasonable request as something that is parochial nature. I will say, however, that when we advance the largest tax cut for middle and working class Americans in American history, when we advance this broader initiative to make Medicaid more sustainable for all Americans and take Medicaid back to its original purpose, when we invested critical resources in our military at a time when the world is not becoming less dangerous, it's becoming more dangerous, when we beefed up border security, we also thought it right and proper to ensure that our religious institutions were cared for, that we continued to incentivize their critical investments in education and other important causes. And unfortunately, it was through a democratic bird process. It was a partisan effort to initiate a process to strip out the provisions that would have exempted religious institutions from a tax that should not be applied to them. So I seek, Madam President, I seek an exemption on behalf of all these religious institutions across the country that are broadly supported, at the same time that I seek relief for the senator in Nevada in the interests of her state for gambling purposes. Thank you.
The objection is heard. Senator from Nevada.
Thank you. I have to say, it is a shame that we cannot pass this common sense fix, S-2230, because Republicans want to weigh it down with unrelated measures that they voted to support. Now, I appreciate my colleague from Indiana, and I hope we can work, because I know he supports S-2230, to try to get this passed and fix this. This is something that my understanding is many Republicans, along with Democrats, did not even know it was part of that process. And I hope we can. But I hope it doesn't get caught in this constant churn now that Republicans, when they voted for a bill, they're trying to undo some of those votes because of things they didn't like in the bill. They didn't like it. They should have voted against the bill. It really is doing a disservice to so many across the country. And right now, it's not just a unique thing for Nevada. This is gaming. Gaming exists across the country, almost in every state. There's so many people that are going to be impacted by this, and it just does not make sense. This is a Republican piece of legislation that is actually causing people to pay taxes on money they lost. It makes no sense. And that's all this is try to fix it and put us back to status quo. And I will say this, and again, I really appreciate my colleague from Indiana, but the Byrd process is not partisan. It's a Senate process we have. It's a partisan process. Democrats have used in the past, Republicans have used in the past. It is a Senate process that is part of procedure that we have here. If my colleagues wanted to protect the qualified religious institutions exemption, they shouldn't have put it in the bill they passed. or they should have introduced an amendment to knock it out. They should have done something to show that they were there. So I'm hopeful this legislation that I'm trying to pass on behalf of so many across this country, Americans, that it does not now get caught up in a Republican loop of trying to protect the very provisions that they voted to support in that Republican big betrayal bill. So I'm disappointed, but I am not done, and I can promise you this: we'll continue to work to try to get S2230 passed. It is just common sense, and it has bipartisan support here in the Senate. With that, I yield my time.
Senator from Nevada.
Thank you. Madam President, I want to start out by thanking my dear friend and colleague, Senator Cortez Masto, for leading the effort to fix this terrible provision. I have to say I'm extremely disappointed in what just happened. Senate Republicans are once again showing that they couldn't care less about the impacts of their new extreme law. Last week, President Trump signed into law Republicans' disastrous, big, beautiful betrayal, which among all the terrible cuts to health care, to food assistance, and all of the rest, the big, beautiful betrayal, it included a damaging provision that will impose a higher tax burden for people who play games at casinos not just in Nevada, but all around this country, and lose money. So you heard that right. Under Republicans' new law, individuals who play blackjack or poker, they're on vacation, wherever they're at, any other games at casinos, will now owe taxes to the government on the money that they lost. That's because Republicans' extreme law placed a new limit on the amount of gaming losses that Americans can deduct. So what does this actually mean? It means if someone wins a big jackpot in Las Vegas and then loses that jackpot later on, they'd still be liable for paying 10% in taxes on gaming income, even though they hadn't brought home anything. Their loss equaled their win. They had no winnings at all. So how can that be right? How does it make sense? I don't know. It's Senate Republican math. That's what they seem to use in their big, beautiful betrayal bill. It's not just bad math, it's bad policy. So what makes this even worse is that Senate Republicans snuck in this provision in this terrible bill so that they can collect more money from people so that they can pay for more tax giveaways to billionaires, because this is exactly what's happening, and it's shameful. This is going to hurt people who visit casinos. It's going to hurt Nevada's gaming industry more broadly, which supports nearly a third of the jobs in our state. It generates billions of dollars for our local economy. That's why Senator Cortez Masto and I agree that we must pass our Full House Act and eliminate this new tax burden. I'm extremely disappointed that Washington politicians are refusing to fix the terrible policy they enacted that's going to hurt my state, and our economy. We need to restore the full wagering loss deduction and bring fairness back to our tax system. And I won't stop working, won't stop pushing until this gets done. Thank you, Madam President. I yield back.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks.
Senator from Colorado is recognized.
Thank you. I rise today to...
When a quorum call, you need to ask to vitiate the quorum call.
Can we suspend the quorum call?
Without objection.
Thank you.
Senator is recognized.
I rise today to honor my great friend, John Stolp. John passed away this past Monday, July 7th. He was with his family in Lamar, out on the Eastern Plains, a place that he loved more than anything. And John was a good man, a great man by any measure. Certainly he was defined by his unwavering commitment to his family, neighbors, his friends, and his home state of Colorado. He was the essence of a public servant. His list of contributions to our state is impressively long. He served as Colorado's Commissioner of Agriculture during my predecessor, Bill Ritter's governorship. And I appreciate Governor Ritter introducing me to him, discovering him for me. John Stolp was a former Prowers County Commissioner, a Democrat commissioner in a county that's not well known for Democratic commissioners. He was also a former State Board of Land Commissioner, a State Wildlife Commissioner, and a member of the State Board of Agriculture. And in John's mind, above all that, he was a dryland wheat farmer and a cow-calf rancher from southeast Colorado. John's reputation for patient consensus building is well known throughout our state and trusted throughout our state. In 2011, I was the newly elected governor, and Colorado had already experienced a couple years of drought. 2011, 2012 were bad years for drought, and I was convinced that we needed a blueprint, a plan of some sort to address the gap between the state's projected growth and its future water supply, to make sure that we had the supply that could match our needs. I recruited John to serve as my top water policy advisor. We made it a cabinet level position. He came to all our cabinet meetings. He was our water czar. It was clear to me that we would be hard pressed to find anyone that could do the work he did. John understood the agricultural community in Colorado better than almost anyone. Maybe that's why when I first approached him with the idea of a statewide water plan, he wasn't immediately convinced. Actually, he was far from it. He was, I would say, more than skeptical. He knew how hard it would be to map Colorado's water supply, to chart a plan to conserve water that we might need in the next 50 years, and to get everybody at the table. In Colorado, we talk about how whiskey's for drinking, but water is for fighting. He didn't think it was a smart idea for me politically, as a new governor, to take on an issue that had the potential to be so divisive. But he understood that we couldn't let our rivers and farms at risk of running dry, and that we needed him. Colorado needed him. And he set aside his reservations, and he rolled up his sleeves and he went to work. He and James Eklund and a lot of other people. It was remarkable to watch them. He crisscrossed the state, hosting roundtables, talking with farmers, listening to stakeholders, really hearing them, trying to resolve the issues and trying to align their self-interests. John poured his heart and soul into that plan. In the end, John accomplished what even he previously believed would not be possible. We finalized the state's first ever water plan in November of 2015. It certainly would never have happened without his prodigious efforts. He created a framework that will evolve as our state's climate and demographics continue to evolve. More importantly, in the process, he created an ecosystem, a network of relationships that crossed geographic and political boundaries. And that is one of his many great legacies, that he leaves to Colorado. Certainly his family is his greatest legacy, but he did a lot for the ability of Colorado's future and water. You know, when you travel a lot with someone, you spend a lot of miles with them, and you stay at their you stay at their home, you share their food, you meet their neighbors, you get a real sense of their goodness. I'm not sure there are gradations of goodness, but I have traveled long distances with John Stolp. I stayed at his home in Prowers County, where he and his remarkable wife, Jane, would cook up a barbecue and get me together with some of their neighbors. He even loaned my son, Teddy, a .410 shotgun so he could learn how to shoot. If I did believe in gradations of goodness, John and Jane Stolp would be at the very top. Even with all the great contributions he made to our state, I think John's goodness, the pureness and the deepness of his heart, is what I'll miss the most. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor. I also want to note the absence of a quorum.
Okay, clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Also Brooks.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, are we on the quorum call?
We are in quorum.
I ask that the quorum call be suspended.
Without objection. Senator from Louisiana is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that the scheduled roll call vote begin immediately.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Under the previous order, the question occurs on the Gould nomination. Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be. Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks, Ms. Baldwin, Mr. Banks, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Blackburn, Mr. Blumenthal, Ms. Blunt Rochester, Mr. Booker, Mr. Bozeman, Mrs. Britt, Mr. Budd, Ms. Cantwell, Mrs. Capito, Mr. Cassidy, Ms. Collins, Mr. Coons, Mr. Cornyn, Ms. Cortez Masto, Mr. Cotton, Mr. Kramer, Mr. Crapo, Mr. Cruz, Mr. Curtis, Mr. Daines, Ms. Duckworth, Mr. Durbin, Ms. Ernst, Mr. Fetterman, Mrs. Fisher, Mr. Gallego, Mrs. Gillibrand, Mr. Graham, Mr. Grassley, Mr. Haggerty. Ms. Hassan, Mr. Hawley, Mr. Heinrich, Mr. Hickenlooper, Ms. Hirono, Mr. Hoven, Mr. Husted, Mrs. Hyde-Smith, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Justice, Mr. Kane, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Kim, Mr. King, Ms. Klobuchar, Mr. Langford, Mr. Lee, Mr. McCormick, Mr. Merkley, Mrs. Moody, Mr. Moran, Mr. Marino, Mr. Mullen, Ms. Murkowski, Mr. Murphy, Mrs. Murray, Mr. Ossoff, Mr. Padilla, Mr. Paul, Mr. Peters, Mr. Reed, Mr. Ricketts, Mr. Risch, Ms. Rosen, Mr. Rounds, Mr. Sanders, Mr. Schatz, Mr. Schiff, Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Schumer, Mr. Scott of Florida, Mr. Scott of South Carolina, Mrs. Shaheen, Ms. Slotkin. Ms. Smith. Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Thune. Mr. Tillis. Mr. Tuberville. Mr. Van Hollen. Mr. Warner. Mr. Warnock. Ms. Warren. Mr. Welch. Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Wicker. Mr. Wyden. Mr. Young. Senators voting in the affirmative: Banks, Haggerty, Hyde-Smith, Kennedy, Paul, Scott of Florida, Scott of South Carolina, and Tuberville. Senators voting in the negative: King, Murray, and Schatz. Mr. Peters. Mr. Peters, no. Mr. Moran. Mr. Moran, aye. Mrs. Capito. Mrs. Capito, aye. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly, no. Mr. McCormick. Mr. McCormick, aye. Mr. Fetterman. Mr. Fetterman, no. Mr. Wicker. Mr. Wicker, aye. Mr. Grassley, aye. Mr. Lujan, no. Mr. Johnson, aye. Mr. Van Hollen, no. Mr. Crapo, aye. Mr. Hoven, aye. Mr. Kim, no. Mr. Wyden, no. Mr. Welch, no. Ms. Collins, aye. Mr. Warnock, no. Mr. Cruz, aye. Mr. Curtis, aye. Mr. Rounds, aye. Ms. Duckworth, no. Mr. Mullen, aye.
Have a good weekend, you guys.
Mr. Sanders, no.
No.
Mr. Schmidt, aye. Mrs. Moody, aye. Mr. Kramer, aye. Mrs. Shaheen. Mrs. Shaheen. No. Mr. Warner. Mr. Warner. No. Mr. Markey. Mr. Markey. No. Ms. Hassan. Ms. Hassan. No. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith. No. Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed. No. Mrs. Blackburn. Mrs. Blackburn. Aye. Mr. Ricketts. Mr. Ricketts. Aye.
No, don't mess with the trims because that affects them. So, yeah, so just leave the trims where they are. You're getting good levels out of these. But if you mess with the trims, then you're messing with their So they've actually got cables going over the top here, go over the feet down over there. They've got that feed, the Franklin feet going out there. They've got, I think they're tied into the rear walls. So, I mean, they got trees. They don't know what to do with it. And then, so, everyone says, that's not a great idea. We're going to try and take questions from the internet. We're going to try and do, you know, some outside stuff. Those come in here somewhere. I don't remember what channels. They'll light up. What we do is just bring the channel up and leave it. You know, do your test and whatever. They should be going out to. This will tell us. Yeah, these two are up, so it must be these two channels. Because everybody else is down. Anyway, yeah. So I would normally just open that channel and let them run it. I don't know when who's going to be talking or what. I think they have indicating what actually gets in. So I mean, it's pretty straightforward. The hardest part for her is to figure out where she's going to go. And it's not, I don't say that, not pleasant. Probably for the first few months, it's not as good a time. So, what are you doing? Like everybody else will come in and just go, well, Yeah, and then even prior to that, they all had their own rhythm, whether it was, as organized as his, or not. They pretty much did mostly the same thing. Some of them, the guy before him would stay on top, topic. Anything else on this? Political order, anything else on this? Okay, let's move on to start all over. Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah, of course. No, but, like that, because whoever. No, not everyone, but, no, not everyone, but.
So, this guy, one that takes over Channel 3, don't do that until you see the lights in their eyes. Actually, Ron was talking about coming up with some other sexy ways to do it. That's fine with me. We guys have a budget. You always laugh when they say that, but compared to what we have, so, and you have a lot more options back there. So when you actually throw this, you'll see it's really glitchy transitions. It looks like somebody threw a switch. Yeah, because somebody just threw a switch. So it's really not nice. So he's probably going to change that. But because this has taken over the TV, the channel that all of the public TVs across the department watch. Everybody who has a TV.
At the gate.
Yes, $3 It's some buildings only get that channel.
And you put it in, let me see if I
That was primarily because the public TVs were actually didn't want somebody to come into
what I can do is inside. Yeah.
We had that problem.
Outside, whatever.
So that was pretty much. That's why I turned this on, put it on channel 3. So I can see that it's not right, or that something happens here. Basically, all the except for this power transmitter, the functional switch.
I was okay.
There's nothing that's going to happen. We'll fix it later, there used to be
So you go
so excited. So, this distribution here?
I do upside down.
Yeah. It probably didn't.
Okay, that's all right. Okay.
Take it out and plug it in here.
Me? Yeah, that's me. Is that you remember last year, I had you called?
Yes, and that's why I asked you what's your number, because some folks are running into that now, where they had the old card, the old two number, they had the old number, and that's what I was asking you, if you had the old card, that's why.
I mean,
I think it's just, I think it's just.
not because of that, but I mean, I have a hard
Because they're able to get out,
I'm
they're able to
kicking this
I just
hard.
think it's after.
So I don't know if there are still, if anybody's still even aware of it, or you could not turn it on and see if you can own it. So that's the OA. Channel 12, so channel 12. I don't know. We don't want. I'm not sure if that's actually part of the finance or not. If that actually will go on. here, so this is the emitter. This is what feeds channel 12. So channel 12, again, is the one over here, the logo, it has no audio over the course of the day, but when this happens, the audio is embedded here. And that's what goes upstairs. So I don't know if I turn this off, because it used to be a separate feed. The guy next to him, the guy was usually talking that way, so he passed it. So he's going to ask this question and bring it down. Or if I can't find who's next, I can probably get ambient from his mic or something like that. So I can be very fast to shut him off at the, at the end of the sentence. But we'll take this out so that it's more likely to get the beginning of the next person. And it's a lot easier to do when you can anticipate what this person's going to do. So, I mean, it's, at first, you want to get about those are going to be a lot of it. But this, these little ones, that can be helpful.
You don't monitor the levels of speakers at all?
I don't. Every once in a while I'll hear it from see me in the hallway. Explain to them where the seats are, but this way you sit where you want. I know, it's very strange.
All right, thanks so much. I imagine we'll come in and give a shot. Thank
You gotta stay right. I usually have this here. So I can kind of get direction like that when he's out here. Well, the party's over. So, I had a
Yeah, you see it?
So we got a guy down there, who's showing your answer.
Oh, yes. No, what he just did. Oh, no, it's not. It's not.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes. Oh, sir, he's here.
Yeah, like, all right, you know where the wall is. Yeah, and some of them actually want them to have as much information as they're allowed to give. You know, Richard Boucher is one that's going way back.
Yes.
He's one who, you know, sometimes I want to give him the hook to pull off stage. But I mean, he gave robust answers to the questions. He appreciated it. Most of those people do, not everybody, she was in that line of business.
Thank you. Yeah.
Instead of going on that person, so you don't have to answer it. I won't answer it. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Very, very good. Shit. And it would just go through. You know, you didn't have to go there and there. And it would, first time. Well, actually, that first time I had it on beforehand. And shut it off when they came in. Yeah. Trying to warm up, yeah. So, see it, I know, because I agree. Whether it's section or we just knew that that's our warning.
Really pushing the video from
That's so I did that, yes. Start talking. And just go and yeah. So, and I'm thinking, the first thing I did when I was people were here the other day, they shut us down. Okay, so, yeah, so to do that, I shut off the main power there on the red button. To turn it back on, turn that on, but then hit this white button. And then, so you'll hear the world going out. What that is, those 6 clicks, that's it starts up in pieces. So that, the right things are fine, and the other things are looking for. Yeah, yeah, before we put that in, something was clear on looking for IP, and wouldn't be there, because that hadn't started, we had a couple longer to catch up with services. So we can put that in there. And we can see them, the lights will light up one at a time, and these guys take it very well.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Last night, that storm. That was pretty outrageous. But glad we made it. Thank you all very much for being here. Popular today in the back. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone at home. So yes, we have a few announcements, as you might imagine, and then I'll be ready to take your questions. So good afternoon, everyone. Secretary Rubio is in Kuala Lumpur for the ASEAN-related foreign ministers' meetings and bilateral engagements, reaffirming the United States' commitment, our enduring commitment, if I may add, to a free, open, and secure Indo-Pacific. Earlier today, he participated in the ASEAN-US Post-Ministerial Conference and held meetings with Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar and counterparts from Malaysia, Russia, Japan, and the Philippines. As the Secretary has stated, the Indo-Pacific accounts for 2/3 of global growth and remains a central focus of U.S. foreign policy. The Secretary also signed a nuclear cooperation memorandum of understanding with Malaysia, advancing civil nuclear energy collaboration under the highest standards of safety, security, and non-proliferation. Negotiations toward a 123 agreement are underway, and once finalized, it would permit the transfer of nuclear material and equipment for peaceful purposes, further deepening bilateral energy, security, and economic ties. Tomorrow also marks the 4th anniversary of the Cuban regime's July 11th crackdown. Deputy Secretary Landau met with Cuban democracy and human rights advocates, reaffirming the United States' steadfast support for freedom and democracy in Cuba. Secretary Rubio's video message to the group made clear the Trump administration promotes accountability for the Cuban regime's human rights violations and continues to stand with the Cuban people in their pursuit of freedom and prosperity. Additionally, the United States is imposing sanctions on UN Human Rights Council Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese for her abuse of her role. And in recent weeks, she also targeted U.S. companies in an unacceptable campaign of political and economic warfare. The United States will take whatever actions we deem necessary and appropriate to protect our sovereignty, Israel, and any other U.S. ally from illegitimate actions by the ICC. In parallel, the department is announcing a new awareness campaign warning Americans, especially Iranian Americans, about the continuing severe risks of travel to Iran. The Iranian regime does not recognize dual nationality and routinely denies consular services to detained U.S. citizens. And while the bombing has stopped, that does not mean that it is safe to travel to Iran. Advisories are there as well. They remain in place. And we cannot stress enough, as we continue to do, as I have multiple times from this podium, do not travel to Iran, especially those of you who are the dual citizens, who have Iranian heritage. It is not safe for anyone to travel to Iran. And again, this supplements also the existing travel advisories. It does not supplant them at travel.state.gov. Our message is clear. I think so. And finally, as many of you would know, the department is also undertaking a historic reorganization, as announced by Secretary Rubio on April 22nd, to better align workforce activities and programs with the America First foreign policy priorities. The Supreme Court's recent near-unanimous decision allows the reorganization to commence, and will ensure that the department moves at the speed of relevancy and restores the department to its roots of results-driven democracy. The plan, which has been approved by the Secretary and developed with extensive feedback from Congress and the workforce itself, is moving into implementation. I do also want to make a note here, as my experience at the State Department now moves into its 6th month, the remarkable experience, the life-changing experience I've had getting to know the people who work in this building. There are tens of thousands of them, and they are at the heart, whether they be political appointees, foreign service officers, or career individuals, people who have made their career, their service for this country, something that has been a part of their lives for a long time. It has been a remarkable experience to see how this building works, how the people work together moving forward to promote and to implement American foreign policy through the commitment and their patriotism. I have to say that in the midst of all of this, it's been, again, very transparent. I've been proud of that coming from the leadership of this building, as we've discussed this many times. And now this is the point where it begins. And all of us understand, and it's sometimes difficult, as any enterprise in America has learned, that when change is necessary. But in this case, we've inherited a dynamic that needed reform, and we are taking and implementing reform. And of course, in the midst of this, know that the people who've committed to the State Department and to diplomacy, that they know also this is not about them. This is about making sure that the State Department is able to operate in a manner that makes it relevant and effective. That is what the American people want. It's what all of us want. And in this dynamic, that's exactly what we're achieving. So it is, it's been a long road. Every day is one that I'm very proud of working here. And of course, every briefing I'm proud of. It's always very different, the briefings. But we will start now with today's briefing as I take your questions. All right. Andrea Mitchell. Yes, ma'am.
Well, before I ask you about Ukraine and the possibility of sanctions and strong support from this department for sanctions, given what the president said about his impatience with Vladimir Putin after the secretary's conversations with Sergei Lavrov.
Yes.
Let me just say that for the workforce, for those who are going to be leaving foreign service as well as civil service, many of whom I and my colleagues have worked with for many, many years, if not decades, to be told that, as you just said, you're going to make it relevant and effective. You're basically saying that they are not relevant or effective.
Well, I'm glad you
thousands of
bring
people
that up,
be losing
because I
their
think
jobs.
that is, Andrea, it's the antithesis of what I've said. That this is not a matter of the individual being targeted or an individual not being right. This is about being able to be effective due to the size of the organization and to the structure of the organization. This involves, as you all receive material and a new org chart and all these other kinds of wonky things, that this is about an entity that has grown unsustainable over the years with elements related to the Cold War and other elements that we have moved beyond, but still stayed. An aspect that you have a size and people working on things that are not within the framework of the modern age or of what we want to accomplish. And certainly the decision that the American people made last year, that Donald Trump's vision about what the world should be in the context of how America can be great again and what we can contribute as Americans, that when something is too large to operate, too bureaucratic to actually function and to deliver projects or action, it has to change. And it's not the fault of the people who were misled effectively by certain administrations that grew this department into being irrelevant. We must be able to contribute to a world that we've seen in the modern age can destroy everyone's lives. Our department, the State Department, can make the difference with diplomacy. And Donald Trump is the highlight of that. So I will repeat, as I said, this is not a statement about the individuals who are affected in this building. It is a statement about a structure that needs to adapt, that must be smaller in order for us to be relevant, but even more than relevant, effective, quick. We've seen even just in these past 5 months, how quickly things can change and what can happen when you move at the speed of relevancy. So no, I would, and it's unfortunate, Andrea, that you would take that point and move that point, because nothing could be further from the truth. And it's exciting for the people who are here and the people who've committed their years to the State Department to be able to watch it become even more powerful through diplomacy and making the world safer again and better again and healthier again. They can be proud of that because they've contributed to that, and we're determined to make sure we continue it as well. All right.
Well,
yeah. Well,
am I able
you
to ask
have a question about? Yes.
I have
go
a
ahead.
question about the importance of sanctions right now at this pivotal moment for Ukraine, given the president's stated impatience with what he saw as misleading understandings,
of course,
from the Russian president.
Well, the secretary made some comments earlier today in Malaysia, and in part he said, our strategy is to continue to engage all the parties that are involved in finding an outcome to this conflict. I echoed to Lavrov what the president said, both the disappointment and frustration at the lack of progress in peace talks or in a path forward. We hope that can change, and we're going to stay involved where we see opportunities to make a difference. He also said that the Russians shared some ideas that he said he would take back to the president, and of course we will see what he says. The president is the guiding hand of these kinds of decisions. And other than that, of course, this is a meeting involved with diplomatic discussions, which I will not get into the details with. All right, Humaira.
Hi, Tammy. Thank you.
Sure.
Just to quickly go back to the reorganization, you said it's moving into the implementation phase. Can you say when the first RIF notices will go out? Is it tomorrow? And apparently the judge wanted to see the RIF plans. That was a demand from the court yesterday. Is that going to slow down the sending of the RIF notices?
First, of course, I won't comment on anything that's moving through the legal system or the requests of the legal system. And also, I will not, other than saying that the Supreme Court decision has allowed us to commence. And that's what we're doing. But I think it's fair to say that with everything else that happens here, it will happen quickly. This is not going to be an extended wait for people who are listening and watching in this building, or fellow Americans at home and around the world. This will happen quickly. We understand that there has been a delay, not to our interests, but because of the courts. It's been difficult when you need to get something done for the benefit of everyone. So it will be quickly. I cannot give you the timing, and again, won't discuss any legal aspects that may have arisen as well.
Okay, two quick things.
Yes,
one
ma'am.
is on Russia, and the other one is about Steve Witkoff. Follow up to Andrea's question. Are you able to tell us at all about this? What's new about these ideas or comments that is going to open a path for peace, which the administration has been trying to do?
Well, what the secretary said was that he would bring the new ideas to the president. We didn't say that they were going to open a path for peace. So don't read into the nature.
Isn't that what you guys are trying to do?
And that is in the process of the diplomacy that the secretary undertakes, that he's in a conversation with Lavrov as an example, conversations the president would have with Zelensky, the president of Ukraine as an example. These are things that are important to realize. They're not static events that stand on their own. They are part of a fluid dynamic of conversations and negotiations. We are, as the president has said and the secretary has said and engaged in, we'll speak with everyone, because every step makes a difference in the decision that you have to make in the end. And that's where we're at.
The final thing is, an Israeli airstrike hit Palestinians near a medical center in Gaza today. It killed 10 children and 6 adults. I'm wondering if there's been any outreach from the U.S. government to the Israeli authorities to take any steps to ensure civilians aren't killed in this.
Well, I can't speak to that particular event. I would direct you to the country of Israel for answers in that regard. But we have said repeatedly that we decry the death of innocents. It's why we do what we do in so many countries around the world. It's part of what informs our action. And at the same time, we know that it's a war, and we stand by Israel, to say the least. And we also know that Israel, when it is due, investigates, and we will wait to see what their action will be, and we'll keep you up to date, obviously. Yes. Jen.
Can I follow up on that, Tammy?
Sure.
There used to be mechanisms in this building to look into incidents of civilian harm using U.S. weapons. Do those mechanisms still exist, and have you come to any conclusions with regard to Gaza?
Well, I can tell you again that the choices that we're going to make diplomatically in reaction to another country's actions or the nature of what's happening around the world, I won't discuss at this podium, or what our process is. But I can tell you that what I've experienced, and I think what all of you have seen over the years, is that we have mechanisms like that because we care about those issues. We have a constant communication with our allies around the world, and that is also something that we see benefiting the agenda of the President and the work of the Secretary of State. So clearly, we care about these issues. We're acting on them actively every day. And that will be one, obviously. I can update you on that, I'm sure, as we move forward.
And then quickly on GHF, my colleagues and I reported that there were a number of internal concerns about funding GHF that were raised prior to the approval. Can you say whether the Secretary was aware of those concerns and why that approval was granted despite these?
Well, yeah, I know we've had that conversation before. First of all, I can give you an update. There's now 69 million meals that have been distributed to date at 4 distribution centers, all while preventing Hamas looting, which is, of course, an incredible feat. It should be commended and supported. I think most of us do. We also call on other aid agencies and the UN to participate in this system. It has been implemented and it works. And of course, this is part of the creative solutions that the President has asked for regarding that region. When it comes to the activity that is happening, or allegations that are made, or the framework of what we're trying to achieve, I think that we're looking at a dynamic where it is a war zone. It's the same issues that we've been discussing about the task of getting humanitarian aid to people who need it. The world has clamored for this, and it's happening. And I think at this point, when we look at the nature of the number of meals that have been delivered and the efforts that have to be taken to save those lives, it is to be commended. It's not, certainly nothing will be perfect. I've said this before, that it can't be perfect because it is an unnatural, obscene environment. And for people looking for perfection in a war zone like that, being terrorized by terrorists, to demand perfection or a new normal of this environment is unacceptable. Nothing will be enough. And so that's why we've got to have a solution and an end, a durable ceasefire and a durable peace, because otherwise the suffering and the carnage continues, and that's what we're working to end. All right. Yes, Alex.
Thank you very much. I want to go back to Ukraine, press a little bit more, if I may. You said the Secretary will inform the President about the new ideas. At what point do you guys are planning to inform the Ukrainians?
I'm sorry, what are we?
The Ukrainians. I mean, they are in the dark. So are you going to
obviously, I'm not going to speak about every conversation or connection we have with partners that we're working with every day, all the time. The communications don't just happen when you hear about it in the news or if there's one phone call that's talked about. These are, in every region that is required, special envoys and discussions and help regarding ceasefires, or at least finding where you can find some common ground, is a 24/7 operation with innumerable people working on it. So when it comes to the Ukrainians, our friends, President Zelensky had a fabulous phone call with President Trump. That was discussed somewhat publicly. Certainly when it comes to the issue of armaments and defensive weapons, essentially, that was discussed publicly, and of course we have news in that regard. So you might not hear it in the news. It doesn't mean that we're not talking quite often, if not all the time, with our Ukrainian friends.
Thank you. And going back to Andrea's point earlier, we all heard just 2 days ago from the President that he expressed his frustration of Putin, saying that he was lying to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have seen in the past few days, Russians have been engaging in record-breaking attacks, Kiev or other cities. Why do you think Lavrov deserves a secretary-level meeting, given all this background?
Well, again, a lot of people didn't think Putin should be talked with at all during the last administration. He wasn't talked to for 3 years. That's not a way that you can come to some kind of understanding or agreement or an effort to stop any carnage and the suffering. You've got to talk to everyone at any point when it comes to those who are involved in the situation. To say nothing of the leverage that we have with the ideas and the power of President Trump and clearly the effectiveness of Secretary Rubio in the midst of this. At the same time, the escalating Russian attacks, the president's been clear, they're abhorrent. I can say to you here that we strongly condemn Russia's escalating attacks on Ukraine and extend our deepest condolences to the victims and families of those killed. Every week, we see reports of Russia setting new records for the scale of its aerial attacks. Every nation wants to have records, but not that kind. As Secretary Rubio said today, we've seen an acceleration of attacks. President Trump's number one interest is to stop people from dying and the destruction that's going every single day. He is going to do everything he can within his power to end this war and any other war he has a chance to end. We're going to continue to work at it. We understand that these things take time and patience, but obviously we are also frustrated that more progress has not been made. And I, again, would remind you that that's an opinion regarding the state of situation now in the midst of ongoing conversations that are conveyed publicly. And while I won't speak or characterize the Secretary's conversations with Lavrov or any other person, it's clear that this is part of that movement toward making decisions about what is necessary to stop this madness. All right. Yes, Tom.
Is there any update on Steve Witkoff's travel? He'd said in the cabinet meeting earlier this week, I think by the end of the week, he expects to go to Doha. So can you confirm whether or not that's happening? And just on the on what the president was saying last week, which was with quite a lot of certainty expecting a deal this week, what we should sort of read into the raising of expectations. Do you think that it's that close that now there will be a breakthrough by next week, for example?
Well, on your question about Special Envoy Witkoff, the answer is no. I know it's a very short word with two letters. I think it's the same in 7 languages. Yeah, well, I have no update for you on his travel.
But he might be traveling, but you don't have an update.
My comment or lack thereof is not a negative to your question that he's not traveling. The answer is that I don't have an update for you.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that. Regarding, of course, the potential of a ceasefire, the president made clear that he was optimistic. And he's considering his lifelong experience, but certainly the experience over the last 5 months, and even certainly through his first term, with the Abraham Accords, et cetera, and the nature of what's been going on in the Middle East, all of us understand that this is a difficult process. So when you are getting close, when you know the nature of the monsters in this case that you're dealing with, you have a general sense, and especially with how the Middle East has changed dramatically because of the action of the United States a few weekends ago, that the playing field is different. So his optimism is based on the multitude of things that he knows that I don't. I think that we should maintain the awareness of his opinion and the optimism that he has. He doesn't say it very often, so when he does, we need to take it seriously. But we do know that, of course, once again, this is an active zone, and we've got the best people working on it, and that's what we pledge to the United States.
Can I just come back with one other issue, which is about the town of Taipei in the West Bank, in which there are around 300 U.S. citizens, a Christian town. The priest there said that it's come under sustained settler attack. There was an arson attack on one of the holy sites at the beginning of this week, and they feared that the church there could have caught fire. It was extinguished. Is there, and I have contacted the Jerusalem embassy, but has there been any outreach from the U.S. embassy to the town? Is there any support for the U.S. citizens there?
Well, I can't comment on the actions we've taken, even if they're phone calls. What I do want to note, of course, is the decrying we have made of civilians, innocent people being hurt in this process. We also, so obviously we're concerned when we hear about anyone being targeted, let alone Christians in this case. that the president has made it clear his feelings on that issue writ large. And it's difficult. All of this, it's war. It's war manifesting in very different contexts within that region, but also other places around the world. President Trump has long established, and I know Secretary Rubio concurs, that protecting Christians is a priority, as seen through his executive order against anti-Christian bias. We do condemn, so there's no confusion, criminal violence by any party in the West Bank and support actions to ensure all civilians, including Christian civilians, remain safe. In the meantime, though, also we would refer you to the government of Israel regarding security incidents and the IDF posture in the West Bank in this regard. All right, yes.
Tammy, just circling back to GHF, we do know that in this latest round of ceasefire negotiations, Hamas has been insisting that GHF end its operations.
Of course they are.
Do you see any scenario, of course, given that you're talking about how successful it is?
Hamas has been enriched by previous aid efforts by looting. They steal this material. They steal the trucks. They not only enrich themselves. You notice it's the highlight of the last generations that aid gets in there and is taken by the people causing the destruction and the pain. They make money. They use those resources to build more weapons. They buy more weapons. They're certainly not stealing it to get it to the Gazan people faster. That's not why they're taking it. They're taking it for themselves, so they have obviously a few square meals every day. But there's money, and it makes there's many. It is an industrial complex, an aid industrial complex. But in that dynamic through a war zone, we've known that the enemy is the only one benefiting from that, and that's why this change. And of course, well, Hamas doesn't like it. Good. That's perhaps an indication that it has ruined that pipeline of money and support. You have people with the best of intentions of getting aid in, but when you see it's going to the people you're trying to stop, we have a duty to change the strategy, and that is what has occurred. So there is, of course, this obviously is working. It is important, as I noted before, for other aid organizations and other efforts. We now have a platform, if you will, at least a template of how to do this without enriching and facilitating the carnage itself.
So given your answer there, is it safe to say that the U.S. and Israel see it as imperative that GHF be allowed to continue operating in Gaza under the terms of any ceasefire agreement?
Well, I think that it's when you have the success, and I would say any entity that was able to break through that wall, that is able to get 69 million meals to the people in need, without the enemy looting it and taking it and benefiting, is a framework that must be supported. It doesn't mean that someone else also can't join in on the nature of this supplying. That's, I think, what the difference is. We've finally seen a new idea that works. So separate from the entity that's doing it, right now there's one, because everyone else said don't, or we don't support you, or you can't do it, or yes, we want aid to go in, but not by those guys. It is now undeniable. This is the format that works. And others, now it's an open dynamic of what it is that's making it work. Others should implement it. Others should come in. There is no excuse to stand on the sidelines either because of envy or because of a political consideration, because all of this transcends those things. It's about feeding people, feeding those children. And this is a dynamic, obviously, that works, and we hope will continue to work. Saeed.
Thank you, Tammy. Two quick things.
Yes, sir.
On Albanese,
yes.
On the timing of imposing these sanctions, does it have anything to do with her tweet the day before that basically, slamming Greece, France, and Italy for allowing Netanyahu's plane over their airspace when they are signatories to the Rome Protocol? I mean, she's talking about technical things. Did that have anything to do with it?
No, this has been, and it's a good question because it highlights that this is not an action based on one action or one thing. This has been a long-term issue. And what I will say to you is today, and just more details, the United States is imposing sanctions on UN Human Rights Council Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese for her abuse of that role to directly engage in ICC actions against Israeli officials. In recent weeks, she has also targeted U.S. companies in an unacceptable campaign of political and economic warfare. As the President's Executive Order, EO 14203, makes clear, the ICC's actions set a dangerous precedent for lawfare that endangers our national security and foreign policy and infringes on the sovereignty of the United States. The President declared a national emergency under the EO that emphasizes, quote, the United States will impose tangible and significant consequences on those responsible for the ICC's transgressions, which would include blocking of property and visa restrictions. The United States will take whatever actions we deem necessary and appropriate to protect our sovereignty, to protect Israel, and any other U.S. ally from illegitimate actions by the ICC. That's why that occurred.
Okay, and one
Yes, sir.
quick follow-up on Tom's
Yes.
West Bank thing. Now, we have seen really, a spike in settler violence in the West Bank. And, whether it's in places like Masafer Yatta, where they basically, there was a big film about it and so on that won the Oscar and so on. But also in other places, in the Jordan Valley and so on. And my question, who is in the State Department following up on these incidents? I mean, how do people, including Palestinian Americans that live in my village, for instance, some of my relatives and so on, who do they go to when they say we have been subject of attack by settlers and so on?
Well, obviously, first of all, Israel, of course, it's the government of Israel who they go to. Israel is an ally. But when you say who in this building works on this, I'm going to answer that.
Yeah, okay.
This is, and I've said this before, a lot of people don't know how the State Department works. It's not a bunch of people in suites, typing things down. Some people are. I do that sometimes, but I don't have a suite. But it's thousands of people, you guys. It is thousands of people in bureaus that are assigned to regions who work literally, and they have, people assigned different times of the day and the night, who are working all the time looking at the nature of what's occurring all around the world based on where their region might be. And of course, this region, involving, of course, the Middle East, is very busy. I see them almost every day. And during the briefing days, we sit down and I get briefed by these people, these experts, who watch everything that's happening, who are talking to everyone, who know what's occurring, who know where the policy is moving, who know what the secretary is thinking, or at least what his trajectory might be. I then blend into that with what I know from leadership as I work in this building. So when we say, who cares? The American people care. The State Department cares as a collection of the American people who have committed to this work specifically, which is not easy and does not make anyone rich, because they care about the country and they care about what happens around the world in the relationship of making sure America stays safer, more secure, and more prosperous. That's who cares, and that's who's working on it. Yes, sir, right there behind. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Sammy. Just a follow-up on Saeed's question as well. Is the Office of the U.S. Security Coordinator in Jerusalem still working under General Michael Flynn, I believe? And because recently there were a few reports indicating that there was a visit to Noor Shams refugee camps.
Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. This is moving into gossip and a report or reports of something. We can save everyone's time because we're moving out of my time. I will not comment on things that you've seen in a paper somewhere or reports of wanting gossip or my speculation. That won't happen. I will have it taken back, your question, in the event there's something we can get to you. But we're going to move on from that. Yes, sir, go ahead. No, we are going on. That was your chance, sir. No, sir, right there.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
On the optimism expressed by the administration on the potential ceasefire in Gaza, and
Yes.
particularly the distribution of humanitarian aid,
Yes.
are there plans in place to stop the firing on Palestinians trying to get that aid?
Well, you know, if we've been demanding for a long time, there's one group there, it's just horrible, that will not stop shooting people or lay down their weapons. Hamas. They could lay down their weapons. There are fewer of them, we will have to admit, since the beginning of this war. And they also won't release the hostages. So part of the ceasefire plan, of course, you have a ceasefire when people stop shooting. So if we're looking at the nature of if there's a plan in that framework, and also, of course, what Secretary Rubio has noted, that there is no place in the future for Hamas. Hamas should not exist. It cannot exist. So in that context, yes, the firing on anyone who is attempting, who's an innocent civilian, who's attempting to get something or just living their lives, the Gazan people have been the first victims of this horror, as they have been controlled for generations by Hamas, by terrorists, by those who don't care about them. So the peace that President Trump wants and Secretary Rubio is working for aims, to say the least, of ending that across the board, no matter who might be doing it, but certainly those who are controlling that framework now and the ones with the weapons, and that would be Hamas. Yes, at the end of the row here.
Anthony Mershak from MTV Lebanon.
Right,
so
welcome aboard.
We're asking about
Thank you,
Beirut.
sir.
Could you please clarify the Special Envoy Tom Barak recent comment stating that Hezbollah has a political wing? Had the U.S. position changed regarding the distinction between Hezbollah's political and military branches?
I have a few things I can say to you. First of all, our position has not changed. Hezbollah is a designated terrorist organization, and we do not distinguish between its political or armed wings. As Ambassador Barak said while in Beirut, Lebanon must utilize this moment to make progress, and that includes progress on disarming Hezbollah. And at the same time, Ambassador Barak, he is the ambassador to Turkey, as well as, of course, our special envoy for Syria. I'm not going to characterize his diplomatic conversations in that regard at all, but he has said publicly that he has been very satisfied with the initial response by the Lebanese government, but now it's noted that they're working on details in this regard. And on the security front, the Lebanese armed forces have made progress on disarming Hezbollah in the south, but there is still more to be done. So as he said, Ambassador Barak, while in Beirut, Lebanon must utilize this moment to make progress. And we do not want to see Hezbollah or any other terrorist group in Lebanon recover their ability to commit violence and threaten the security in Lebanon or in Israel. And I will take one more. You, sir, in the white shirt. Thank you.
Journalists from Azerbaijan, and recently Secretary Rubio said he hopes to see a peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan soon. And today, Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev and Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan met in Abu Dhabi. Is there any connection between Secretary Rubio's remarks and this meeting? And does Washington currently have a concrete plan or proposal to support a peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan? And my second question is...
Let me answer that, because, get me while it's right here on the front, and I will take your second question, and then that's likely going to be it, because we have a thing. First, regarding the peace process, the United States supports those efforts to promote peace and stability in the South Caucasus. We also are tracking the referenced press reports in general, and don't have any additional information to share. But as you know also, I think the Trump administration and Secretary Rubio's approach speaks for itself. And his remarks at the cabinet meeting is that this is an administration working for peace. They will do and go wherever they need to go. It is not waned. It is because it is the core of the commitment to making America great again is improving, of course, the condition of the world around us. And your second question, sir.
My second question is, for several months now, there has been no U.S. ambassador appointed to Azerbaijan. Could you please clarify if this delay is due to procedural and technical reasons, or if there are any political consideration behind it? And how does the U.S. government view the importance of having a full ambassadorial presence in Baku at this time?
Very, very good question. I don't have the answer to that right now, but we will take it back and get it back to you in the full context in which you answered it. All right, you guys, that's it right now. Thank you very much. I will see you again next week, but there will be, of course, updates on everything we're working on throughout today and tomorrow. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you.
This is the Fox 5 News Block.
And breaking news today, the man convicted of attacking a woman with a hammer at a subway station in Queens learns his fate today. And developing news in Russia and Ukraine's war, Secretary of State Marco Rubio meeting with the Russian foreign minister to push for an end to the fighting. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sharon Crowley, and welcome to the News Block. Those stories in just a moment, but first, here's a live look outside right now. Let's get in right now with Liv Johnson for a very first look at our forecast. It's better a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, it's definitely more comfortable, at least, than yesterday. We're getting a little bit of a break from the extreme heat. I mean, it's still pretty humid out there, but we have plenty of cloud cover. We had some showers that passed through last night. That was the main kind of belly of the beast, if you will say, for our overnight showers. We still have a little bit of a threat of getting some afternoon rain, but like I was saying, that system actually did cool us down a bit, so we are getting a little bit of relief from the heat, especially for places like Belmar is 10 degrees cooler than yesterday. Newark is 12 degrees cooler than yesterday. So we're sitting at about 82 in New York City, 81 out east on Long Island. Still in the 70s for Hartford and Bridgeport, both 78. 79 down the shore in New Jersey, excuse me. And 84 in Newark. Now those dew point temperatures are still pretty high, so it's pretty humid out there, especially for coastal areas like Long Island and down the shore in New Jersey. A little bit of a light breeze, 5 to 15 miles per hour, but like I said, we still could see a quick pop-up shower in the tri-state area. It looks a little bit more concentrated to the north, like Hartford, Connecticut, but still out east could see a quick shower. Not a total washout, nothing too treacherous, but still just could see a little bit of rain this afternoon. And same thing tomorrow afternoon when we have a threat of a few showers popping up for our Friday. Sharon?
All right, thanks, Liv. Well, we have some breaking news for you. The man convicted of a vicious hammer attack on a woman at a subway station in Queens learning his fate in court. A judge essentially sending the 60-year-old to jail for the rest of his life. Fox 5's Linda Schmidt outside the courthouse in Queens right now for us. Linda, his victim was in court today and even reacted to this news.
That's right. Good afternoon, first of all, to you there, Sharon. And she is a very resilient woman. In fact, she is a top scientist with the New York City Health Department. When this happened about 3.5 years ago, this is an attack that really shocked the city because it was random and it was brutal. Go ahead, take a look at this video here. The random attack happened at the Queens Plaza subway station in Long Island City back in 2022. Now, surveillance video shows the suspect who was convicted in this vicious attack, 61-year-old William Blount, approaching 57-year-old Nina Rothschild from behind as she was walking into the subway station. She is wearing a red coat. Blount kicked her down the stairs and then hit her in the head 13 times with a hammer before stealing her purse. Rothschild was on her way home from work at the time. As I said, she is a senior scientist with the New York City Health Department. Well, today in court, she read a victim impact statement just before the sentencing.
This was a life-altering experience. I think about the night of February 24th, 2022, at least once per day. But I am incredibly grateful to everyone who played an indispensable role in my survival and recovery.
What really floors me about this case is the randomness. What really floors me is the violence that was just serendipitous.
And the attacker who was convicted in this case, William Blount, he had faced the possibility of a maximum sentence of 25 years to life. And that's exactly what he got. Sharon, back inside to you.
All right, thank you, Linda. Well, we do have some other developing news. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is currently in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, meeting with the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov. Now, they are exchanging ideas for peace talks with Ukraine. Both are attending the annual Association of Southeast Asian Nations Regional Forum.
There were some ideas exchanged today, some viewpoints that they expressed to us that I'll take back to the president for his consideration, and hopefully it will lead to something. I don't want to overpromise. I mean, again, as I said, this is a conflict that's been going on now for over 3 years, and as has already been pointed out by one of the questions here, we've seen an acceleration of attacks.
Well, Rubio adding that the president has been, quote, disappointed and frustrated with the fact that the Russians are not being more flexible in any attempt to bring an end to this war. A New Hampshire judge ruling to pause President Trump's birthright citizenship executive order. The judge says he will certify a class action lawsuit, including all children who will be affected by the president's executive order ending birthright citizenship, and issue a preliminary injunction blocking it. The order will include a 7-day stay to allow for an appeal. The U.S. Supreme Court limited injunctions in a ruling just last month that gave lower courts 30 days to act. Opponents quickly returned to court to try to block it. New York Governor Kathy Hochul urging Homeland Security to release emergency management funding for state and local governments. In a letter to Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, Hochul says for the first time ever, the department is delaying critical funding to prevent terrorism and is jeopardizing efforts to stop those who threaten our way of life. The governor says the FEMA grants are needed to help states and local jurisdictions provide critical resources in the event of a natural disaster. We have reached out to the Department of Homeland Security's office, but haven't heard back yet. And 7 firefighters and 1 captain were injured after battling a third alarm fire this morning in Jersey City. Take a look. The fire broke out overnight in 2 vacant buildings on 4th Street. Officials say both buildings collapsed within a half an hour. Firefighters arriving on the scene, and the Jersey City fire chief says firefighters are being treated at the hospital for minor injuries, the cause still under investigation. Well, an elderly man is dead after a hit and run in Brooklyn. It happened on Tuesday morning at the intersection of East 14th Street and Avenue U in the Homecrest neighborhood. The 90-year-old was in the crosswalk when the blue moped hit him. Police say the rider initially stopped and checked on the man, but then got back on his moped and rode off. The victim was taken to the hospital where he later died. Investigators are now asking anyone with information to call police. And now to Texas, and breaking news there. Crews are scouring miles and miles along the Guadalupe River as more than 160 people are still believed to be missing in Kirk County following the devastating and deadly floods over the July 4th holiday. Fox's Rebecca Castor is tracking the very latest volunteer efforts from the ground.
As crews work around the clock to find every missing flood victim, volunteers are pouring in from all over to support them.
Our communities were struck with tragedy literally in the darkness, in the middle of the night.
Hundreds of people gathered in Corville, Texas Wednesday night to pay their respects to the victims of last week's devastating floods. Many are still missing, and crews are scouring debris piles to bring closure to the community.
There's more than 2,100 responders on the ground here from state, local, and federal agencies.
As the death toll continues to rise, organizations like Mercy Chefs are bringing comfort to grieving families and first responders. As soon as the flood hit on July 4th, they began moving kitchens and supplies to Central Texas.
You're trying to console people that have just been wiped out, devastated, and lost family members.
The nonprofit is now serving thousands of hot meals at more than a dozen distribution sites around Kirk County. They're stationed near the Guadalupe River, where the search is taking a physical and mental toll on rescue crews.
We're sending food out there as well as serving here on site.
Kirk County Sheriff says more than 2,000 volunteers have offered to lend a hand here after the flood, and many say they plan to stay as long as they're needed.
Whatever we can do to help someone, that's what we're here for. Love others for no reason.
President Trump will be here Friday to see the devastation firsthand. He's promised to provide the state with whatever it needs to recover. In Kirk County, Texas, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Rebecca, well, in LA, 31 workers have been safely removed from an industrial tunnel after part of that structure collapsed. The workers were up to 6 miles from the tunnel's only entrance. Paramedics were evaluating 27 of the workers, and officials say none had major injuries. Luckily, officials are trying to investigate now what the cause of the cave-in was. All right, a hazy day. Let's take a live look outside. As you can see there, Liv, what are we looking for in the next few hours? More thunderstorms maybe tonight?
It's possible we could see a couple more showers before the end of the day. We're kind of stuck in this pattern that's just unruly. I mean, a warm front, low pressure, cold front, low pressure. All of these things bring some instability to the atmosphere, so that's why we're facing this kind of on and off chance constantly of seeing some rain. For the rest of your afternoon, temperatures will be a little bit more mild, low 80s, mid 70s, but as I said, we could still see a quick shower or even a pop-up thunderstorm. before we get into the evening. I think though by 7, 8 p.m. we're mostly in the clear. We even see those clouds break apart just a little bit. Remember, it's still going to be pretty humid. Tomorrow morning you'll wake up dry. Temperatures will already be in the mid to upper 70s by 7 a.m. But then it's very similar to today, where by mid to late afternoon, some of us, you can tell, won't even see any rain at all. But some of us will see a few showers, or even, again, a pop-up thunderstorm in the area, but it's not widespread. It doesn't look too bad for our Friday or even Saturday when we repeat the same cycle. Dry for the first half and then a chance of some afternoon showers. That's just kind of the pattern that we're in, especially this time of year. 72 for our low tonight, most of us in the 60s or 70s. Tomorrow, pretty similar temperature-wise, the low to mid-80s. And we stay there for a few days. We get some more shower chances Saturday and Sunday, and again on Monday, and then we warm up again by the mid next week, where it'll just be hot and humid. Sharon?
Yeah, hot and humid. We're just in the middle of summer. Thanks, Liv. I appreciate it. Well, in soccer news now, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy leading a big announcement today in Paterson. The New York Cosmos are making a comeback in a whole new way. A men's and women's USL team will begin to play next year under the iconic name. This is the name's third iteration.
We all remember the glory days of Pele and Giorgio, and in my case, a former U.S. ambassador in Berlin, Germany. Franz Beckenbauer, of course, ended his career here.
You know, America's team, an international team, a super team, and we're really excited. It's also a great announcement because it's in the city of Paterson. Paterson had some hard times, but also some great times, and what we're doing is participating in the revitalization of the city of Paterson, my hometown.
Well, the Cosmos first originated in the 1970s at Giants Stadium in East Rutherford, and New Jersey's new team will play their home games at Hinchcliffe Stadium in Paterson, New Jersey. And the Bronx Zoo is opening a brand new exhibit on Saturday. It's called The World of Darkness and features 25 nocturnal species. It highlights over 20 different habitats, including tropical forests, wetlands, and subterranean environments. Some of the featured species you can see there include sloths, pygmy, slow loris, broad-snouted caiman, vampire bats, and many other species. The zoo held a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the exhibit today, and the new World of Darkness exhibit opens to the public at the Bronx Zoo on Saturday, July 12th. That looks like fun, but I think I'll stick with the day creatures. All right, that's your news block for now. I'm Sharon Crowley. Thank you so much for joining us. Tune into the 5 o'clock news on Fox 5 right here, and to Fox Local for all the day's news as it develops. And we'll see you right back here at this time tomorrow. Have a good day.